Chapter 788. The 5 female cultivators had a good impression of Yi Qinghan. In addition, they believed that Tuoba Xianxian had chosen Yi Qinghan, so they did not give him any face. However, the others didn't think so, especially those super experts who had a good impression of Tuoba Xianxian and were pursuing her. Their expressions changed abruptly. Yi Qinghan. Junior, I wonder which elder of divine artifact sect you have to suck up to become an honorary deacon. And Xian said with disdain, not giving him any face at all. Ha ha ha, maybe it's Elder Feng of the divine artifact sect. He likes pretty boys like you the most. They're good-looking but not very capable. All you have to do is turn your back to him and bow. Chen Kun laughed. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed. Even the female cultivators knew what Chen Kun meant. Their faces turned red. Elder Feng of divine artifact sect was known for his fondness for men, especially young ones. Not many could escape his grasp. Yi Qinghan's eyes were cold as he looked at An Xian. Killing intent flashed in his eyes as he loosened his fist. Chen Kun, don't talk nonsense. Fellow Taoist, Yi doesn't know you. It wouldn't be good if she misunderstood. Tuoba Xianxian frowned. She felt that Chen Kun had gone too far. Miss Xianxian, am I wrong? Chen Kun had a cunning look on his face. Perhaps because he was a young master of an aristocratic family, he was used to fighting and scheming against others. Oh, you know so much about it. It seems that Elder Feng of the divine artifact sect has visited you. Does your anus still hurt? Yi Qinghan was too lazy to argue with others, but the divine bird's words were even more vicious. His words silenced everyone. Chen Kun's face turned purple as he glared at the divine bird. He was so angry that he vomited blood. At this time, everyone stared at Chen Kun with a look of sudden realization. Chen Kun got goosebumps from being stared at. He shouted, I've never been done by him. Ha ha ha. We understand, you don't need to explain. King Shui and the others laughed loudly, as if they understood everything. The faces of several female cultivators turned red, and their strange eyes seemed to say, no wonder you know so clearly. It turns out that you've been slept with. Chen Kun was furious. He couldn't refute the divine bird's words. Now, no one believed him. Whoosh! Tuoba Xianxian blocked Yi Qinghan. Taoist Cheng, this is my home. Do you think it's a good place to fight? Chen Kun's. Ha ha ha, a cornered dog will do something desperate. You must have been poked at your sore spot. Don't worry, we are all good people. We won't mock you. The divine bird jumped onto Tuoba Xuanxuan's shoulder and said smugly. Hoo-hoo, Chen Kun's breathing quickened. His chest heaved up and down, and his fingers trembled. He did not know what to say. An Xian sneered and said, what a sharp-tongued lowly bird. You dare to spout nonsense in this kind of situation. Tisk tsk, there are so many people here, but only the 2 of you know about Elder Feng. Looks like this Elder Feng has quite the pervert, to think he would defile the 2 of you, the divine bird mocked. Yi Qinghan sneered. Bickering with the divine bird was just asking for trouble. An Xian's killing intent appeared. Are you done? Are you not going to give me face? Tuoba Xuanxuan's aura changed. I'll just kill this bird. No one in Qingshan continent dares to talk to me like that. An Xian said coldly. I'm so scared of you. Defeat Beauty Xianxian before you talk to this divine bird. If you can't even beat her, you're just a woman. How can you fight with the great all-beast divine emperor? The divine bird said in disdain. An Xian was furious. He was about to go berserk. Tuoba Xianxian frowned and glared at the divine bird. Shut up. I know you're strong. Plus, there are many people in the world who can't beat me. Are they all women? Even if they are women, so what? So what if they're women? The divine bird looked at Tuoba Xuanxuan's angry face and laughed. He knew he said the wrong thing. He included Tuoba Xianxian in his words. Women are pretty good. Hee, you're so beautiful that even this divine bird is tempted by you. My master definitely won't be able to escape from your grasp. The divine bird said in a flattering manner. Tuoba Xianxian snorted. She couldn't be bothered to talk to it. She changed the topic. Everyone, please take a seat. Today, I encountered a small problem in my cultivation. I'd like to invite everyone to discuss the Tao. You can say whatever you want today. You can also spar with each other. After he finished speaking, An Xian and Chen Kun sneered. Their eyes filled with killing intent swept past Yi Qinghan as they chose a place to sit down. Tuoba Xianxian started the topic to attract attention. Yi Qinghan only listened quietly. He didn't participate in the discussion. However, these people were indeed outstanding in their own ways. Every word of theirs had the effect of adding the finishing touch to a story, causing others to suddenly see the light. 1,000 people had 1,000 ideas. They all had different ways to solve the Tao. This provided Yi Qinghan with many ideas. Everyone saw that Yi Qinghan only listened but didn't say anything. He even nodded occasionally. They all felt that he was just making up the numbers. Their eyes were full of disdain. Sometimes, even Yi Shanjing felt that Yi Qinghan was like a silver spear made of wax. Yi Qinghan, you must have some skills to be able to become an honorary deacon in Divine Artifact Sect. I wonder if you can broaden my horizons. King Shui looked at Yi Qinghan and asked calmly. Yi Qinghan smiled. Divine Artifact Sect is too kind. I only have a fire essence. I'll be useful to them in the future. Fire origin body. So it's a special constitution. No wonder. Some of the weaker elites suddenly realized. They didn't have the right to look down on an essence body. Their eyes were filled with respect. However, King Shui and the others all had special constitutions. They all had the ability to kill special constitutions. It was only an essence body. They didn't care about it at all. Then Taoist Yi, which aspect are you most proficient in? Why don't you show it to everyone? You've been listening without saying anything. Isn't this unfair to us? Yu Haizhou and Yu He stared at Yi Qinghan intensely, wanting to force Yi Qinghan to make a move. However, Yu He was hoping that Yi Qinghan was just there to make up the numbers. That way, they could eliminate one of their opponents. Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan. They saw that he was standing in front of a bush while Tuoba Xianxian was following him. They were very jealous and wanted to cause trouble for Yi Qinghan. I heard that you even defeated Taoist Xianxian. Then do you mind sparring with me? My cultivation is not as good as Taoist Xuanxuan's. Chen Kun coldly said. Chen Kun was the first disciple of Sky Sword sect. His Sky Sword art was enough to suppress an era. He had fought for thousands of years. Other than Tuoba Xianxian, only King Shui could fight him in the entire Clear Spirit continent. Yi Qinghan looked at Tuoba Xianxian. His original intention today was to see the true strength of these young prodigies. He also wanted to use the strengths of the various sects to make up for his own weakness. Now that insane sect hadn't established itself, it wouldn't be appropriate to offend these first disciples. Chapter 789. Yi Qinghan looked at Tuoba Xianxian. He really didn't want to fight with them here as there was no benefit at all. What? Do you only know how to hide behind a woman? No wonder you're licking Elder Feng's boots. Chen Kun mocked. TSK, you still dare to mention this. Are you afraid that others don't know that Elder Feng is behind you? Pretty boy, why are you so shameless? The divine bird sneered. Chen Kun was furious. He was so angry that he felt dizzy. Yi Qinghan, do you dare to fight? If you don't, then get out. Don't embarrass yourself here. Chen Kun looked at Yi Qinghan in the eye. Hey, why are you asking for a beating? Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. This kind of person was really asking for a beating. I'm asking for a beating? Ha ha ha, come if you're capable. If you can beat me, I'll apologize to you. Chen Kun roared. Alright, let's stop here. 2 moves, 1 move each. We'll back off and lose. How about that? Yi Qinghan said calmly. Okay. Chen Kun agreed without hesitation. He wanted to vent his anger on Yi Qinghan. It would be degrading to argue with the divine bird. Tuoba Xianxian also didn't want to hurt their relationship. Knowing Yi Qinghan's strength, she transmitted her voice, he has such a temper. Don't take it to heart. Just defeat him. There's no need to hurt him. After all, the Sky Sword sect is a large power. Yi Qinghan nodded slightly and walked towards the training field. Chen Kun was proud. He wanted to show off his domineering aura and let Tuoba Xianxian see his manliness. Tuoba Xianxian was helpless. She could only remind him, Chen Kun, be careful. Don't force yourself. Chen Kun thought that Tuoba Xianxian was worried about him. He patted his chest and said, Miss Xianxian, don't worry. I'm confident in dealing with him. Sigh, Tuoba Xianxian sighed. Men, no matter how strong they were all fools when they were jealous. They had completely forgotten their own surnames. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. The god-severing gauntlets were attached to his iron fists. He stood proudly like a pine tree and looked at Chen Kun indifferently. Bring out your weapon and attack first. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you a chance, Chen Kun said arrogantly. Everyone sat up straight and raised their heads in anticipation. However, Tuoba Xianxian knew that once Yi Qinghan made his move, Chen Kun would definitely not have a chance to retaliate. Thus, she said, Daoist Chen Kun, you go first. Yi Qinghan nodded and gestured for Chen Kun to make the first move. Chen Kun didn't know what was good for him and wanted to show off his manliness. He said disdainfully, you go first. After all, you're a guest and a low-level high deity. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't even be interested. The divine bird looked up at the sky. It really didn't want to see Chen Kun's miserable state. Yi Qinghan didn't hold back anymore. He didn't even use berserk. He changed his aura and controlled the space-time order of the entire arena. Chen Kun couldn't move an inch. The gravity on the ground could crush a mid-level high deity's body. Low-level high deities couldn't even think about moving. As for Chen Kun, he could still move, but it was impossible for him to dodge quickly. Boom! Hua! Yi Qinghan's fist was like the wind, shattering the space. His iron fist was covered in flames and devoured everything. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of Chen Kun. Chen Kun was terrified. He wanted to dodge, but his legs were as heavy as lead. He couldn't move at all. He felt that the space around him had become stagnant. He couldn't control the order anymore. He couldn't even control the aura of the outside world. He could only raise his sword to block Yi Qinghan's fist. Bang! Yi Qinghan only used the divine power of the dragon godhead, but it almost broke Chen Kun's sword. Chen Kun's body flew into the distance like a kite with a broken string. Bam! 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 Chen Kun kept retreating. Yi Qinghan's power of destruction entered Chen Kun's body through the scabbard, making him as helpless as a mortal. Swish! An Xian and Chen Kun's relationship was considered good. An Xian's figure flickered as he reached out to catch An Xian. However, the moment they touched, another wave of energy erupted from Chen Kun's body and blasted into An Xian's. Boom! The two of them slammed into a pillar, triggering a defensive formation. The two of them bounced back and fell to the ground. Kakik. What a good move. What a pair of like-minded friends. The divine bird snickered. Everyone wanted to laugh, but they were also shocked by Yi Qinghan's strength. How much power did that punch contain? How many profound mysteries and grand daos did it use? Others might not be able to see it, but how could these elites not see it? The grand Tao of order, the law of space, the profound mysteries of force, the origin of fire, the power of destruction, the profound mysteries of hitting a cow from a distance, the one-inch strike, every profound law was ingeniously used, making it impossible for Chen Kun to defend himself. This was the price of underestimating his opponent. Pooh! As soon as Chen Kun got up, he felt his blood and qi blocked in his throat, forcing him to spit it out. And Xian was the unlucky one. He just wanted to act cool and catch Chen Kun, but he didn't expect to be struck by lightning and implicated himself. Their faces turned purple. Yi Qinghan didn't want to hurt them at all. Otherwise, if he used his full strength, the two of them wouldn't be able to get up. Clap, 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 Shuizhuang and the others couldn't help but stand up and applaud. Although this power wasn't great, and the instantaneous explosion of divine power wasn't very strong, it won in terms of profound mysteries and superb secret techniques. Just this move alone was enough to make him a top-notch expert in the clear spirit continent. However, they didn't know that Yi Qinghan didn't use his full strength at all. He only used a single godhead. If he used all his strength, it would be equivalent to 20 times the instantaneous explosion, turning Chen Kun into dust. Tuoba Xianxian stared blankly at Yi Qinghan. She knew that he had improved again. He was much stronger than before. If he wanted to win against her, he didn't need to use the 10 Direction Seal's peak power. Yi Shanjing and the other female cultivators opened their mouths to speak but stopped. They didn't know how to describe the shock in their hearts. They thought that Yi Qinghan was able to suppress Tuoba Xianxian because of his handsomeness, but it turned out that he really suppressed her. Yi Shanjing thought about it and agreed. If he couldn't suppress a woman like Tuoba Xianxian, how could he conquer her manly heart? Thank you for letting me win. Yi Qinghan withdrew his fist and said calmly. Before Chen Kun could say anything, and Xian suddenly pulled out his sword and disappeared in the air. The entire courtyard fell into a gloomy murderous aura. Xiao and Xian appeared again in the blink of an eye. But when he appeared, his sword was already at the back of Yi Qinghan's neck. It was only a few millimeters away from piercing through Yi Qinghan's neck and suppressing his life force. Pa! Yi Qinghan's body turned, and the sword slashed across Xian's neck. Blood flashed, and in the blink of an eye, the wound was healed. Yi Qinghan raised his hand and ruthlessly slapped Xian's face. Boom! Xian's body was directly smashed to the ground by Yi Qinghan's slap. His head heavily hit the stone floor, activating the array. Blood flowed from his head and his mind went dark. He let out a muffled groan and fainted. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Yi Qinghan's speed was too fast. It was as if he knew that Xian would sneak attack him from behind. His turn was as smooth as flowing water. Chapter 790. Xian was slapped so hard that he couldn't get up for a long time. His handsome face quickly swelled up. His mind was dark and dizzy. He felt like he had taken the initiative to reach out his face for Yi Qinghan to slap him. He couldn't understand the situation. Yi Qinghan's eyes turned cold. This person clearly had killing intent. If he couldn't dodge it, he would definitely die. I'll give Miss Xianxian some face this time. If you dare to attack again, I'll kill you. Yi Qinghan said coldly. Humph, Xian groaned and struggled to get up from the ground. He squinted his eyes and stared at Yi Qinghan. He didn't understand how Yi Qinghan discovered him. Yi Qinghan was at the perfection stage of the spatial laws. The order of the surroundings was under his control. He was the master of everything within 100 meters. Even if he was twice as strong, he still wouldn't be able to kill Yi Qinghan. Just his state of mind wasn't enough. Once Yi Qinghan's strength increased, his assassination technique would kill him 100 times over. Don't go too far. Let's not hurt each other. Tuoba Xianxian quickly became the peacemaker. She didn't want Yi Qinghan to kill An Xian. You dare to sneak attack with just this bit of strength? This divine bird can suppress you with one claw, let alone this divine bird's master. TSK TSK TSK, there are so many idiots in the world. This place has the most. The divine bird mocked. Everyone was speechless. This lowly bird wanted to offend everyone. What did it mean by this place has the most? Could it be that everyone was an idiot? Yi Shanjing liked this divine bird more and more. It was so lowly that it was cute. Yi Qinghan remained silent. He didn't want to cause trouble. However, if anyone dared to provoke him, he would definitely make a move. An Xian and Qing Kun stared at the divine bird. Their killing intent was getting stronger. The divine bird stood on Tuoba Xuanxuan's shoulder. It knew that the two didn't dare to make a move. It said arrogantly, "Trash, if you don't like this divine bird, come and hit me." Pfft, Yi Shanjing and the other female cultivators directly spat out their tea. This fellow was truly a troublemaker who wished for the world to be in chaos. Tuoba Xianxian was speechless. She turned to look at the divine bird on her shoulder and said in a muffled voice, "Can you not speak?" "Can." The divine bird flapped its wings and said disdainfully, "A group of existences with 0 IQ. This divine bird is such a high-level creature that I can't be bothered to bicker with you." Whoosh! After the divine bird finished speaking, it flew into Yi Qinghan's body and turned into a mark that appeared on Yi Qinghan's arm. King Shui and the other experts pretended to be calm and showed their kingly demeanor. They did not want to bicker with the divine bird. They knew that there was no benefit in bickering with it, and they had even lost face in front of Tuoba Xianxian. If they fought with Yi Qinghan, it would be unfair to win, but if they lost, it would be a complete loss of their reputation. After all, their cultivation levels were different. Everyone returned to their seats. Yi Qinghan was still standing in the garden, looking at the green willow. It was as if looking at the scenery was more comfortable than interacting with the others. Tuoba Xianxian went to greet everyone. Yi Shanjing and the others looked at each other and gathered around. "Young Master Yi, how do you know Xianxian? Where are you from? How many people are there in your family?" Yi Shanjing asked continuously. Yi Qinghan was speechless. He looked at Yi Shanjing calmly, but he did not know her. Cough cough. "Let me introduce myself. I am the youngest daughter of the Clear Spirit Continent's Prefecture Lord, Yi Shanjing." "Greetings, young Master Yi." Yi Shanjing lowered her head shyly, not daring to look at Yi Qinghan directly. "Young Master Yi, I am the Dragon Spirit of the Dragon Clan." "Greetings, young Master Yi. Just now, I felt a very strong dragon bloodline in your body. Are you also a dragon bloodline inheritor?" At this moment, a crisp voice sounded. Yi Qinghan looked up at the dragon spirit. She looked small and delicate, but her figure was definitely a baby's peak. At most, she was about 1.65 meters. She looked so pitiful that even the heavens would pity her. The dragon spirit also had dragon bloodline, but its level was too low. At least compared to Yi Qinghan, it was too far away. Yi Qinghan nodded and said, "Greetings, fellow Taoists. I do have dragon bloodline in my body, but it was formed later. I am not a natural dragon bloodline inheritor." The dragon spirit was a natural inheritor, but as time passed, the level of her bloodline became lower and lower. It seemed that the dragon clan had also declined. If no dragon bloodline was born in 1,000 years, it was very likely that they would disappear in the long river of history. The dragon bloodline was very precious. It had saved the human race several times in history and belonged to the core camp of the witch race. The dragon spirit looked at Yi Qinghan enviously. The level of the dragon bloodline formed after birth was so high. It was much higher than her, a natural dragon bloodline inheritor. Thinking about the current situation of the clan, she could not help but sigh sadly. If another dragon bloodline was born in the dragon clan, it would not lose to any of the 10 great battle constitutions of the past. Young Master Yi, can you sell a portion of your essence blood to me? I am willing to pay any price. The dragon spirit looked at Yi Qinghan firmly. It could be seen that she wanted to revive the clan. Essence blood was related to the power of qi and blood. Some people could even use essence blood to control people. It was very important. If there was no special relationship, essence blood would not be leaked. Yi Qinghan shook his head and refused without hesitation. His essence blood, other than the inner sect and those children, could not be given to anyone, especially these ancient clans. He did not want to take the risk. Sigh. I was too impatient. Fellow Taoist, please don't take it to heart. The dragon spirit said helplessly. It's okay. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. The dragon spirit opened her mouth and wanted to buy his essence blood. At first glance, he could tell that she was a very pure little girl from a rich family with no survival experience. Otherwise, she would not want to buy his essence blood on their first meeting. Fellow Taoist Yi, since you are so familiar with Xian, why don't you sell her a portion? She can refine it on the spot. You are a man, are you afraid that a little girl will harm you? At this time, another woman's eyes shined. She was clearly an intelligent person. But at this moment, she was holding on to the dragon spirit's arm. It could be seen that the two had a good relationship and she wanted to persuade Yi Qinghan on behalf of the dragon spirit. She was Shui Yuner, the princess of the Shui family. The relationship between the dragon family and the Shui family was very good and she had a strong protective nature. She had always been taking care of the dragon spirit. Otherwise, with her temperament, the dragon family would not have allowed her to go out. That's right. Even if you don't want to give face to the monk, you still have to give face to the Buddha. It's just a portion of essence blood. With so many beautiful women begging you, you should just give it to them. If you really can't do it, then have Ling, give her body to you, he. Several women jeered in unison. The dragon spirit lowered her head, not daring to look at Yi Qinghan. Her fingertips trembled as dragon might circulated. Yi Qinghan shook his head. For such a girl, no matter how strong she was, it would be difficult for her to display the might of her dragon bloodline. Her personality was too soft, too weak, and not suitable for battle. It was better for her to be a good girl at home and go out to gain experience. She might be whole when she left, but she might never return. Giving her essence blood would be harming her. Sorry, let's talk about this later. Yi Qinghan tactfully declined. Aya, you're so handsome and strong. Why bother with a portion of essence blood? I'm willing to exchange a divine artifact for it. Shui Yuner wrapped herself around Yi Qinghan's arm, almost shamelessly sticking to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan wanted to pull his arm away, but Shui Yuner wouldn't let go. Instead, she pressed down on Yi Qinghan's arm with a mountain peak, making him not dare to move. The scene was extremely explosive. Yi Shanjing and the others covered their mouths and snickered. Seeing the incomparably powerful Yi Qinghan at a loss, they couldn't stop laughing. Tuoba Xian walked over. Seeing the women surrounding Yi Qinghan, she actually felt a little jealous, but she quickly restrained herself. Chapter 791. When Tuoba Xian saw her friends pestering Yi Qinghan, she felt an inexplicable sourness in her heart. She didn't know why she felt this way. What are you doing? Tuoba Xian asked curiously. Yi Qinghan didn't know whether to move or not. Shui Yuner is a forthright but scheming bitch. She grasped Yi Qinghan's weakness and stuck her body close to him. It seems that she won't give up until Long Ling gets what she wants. Xian, this guy's bloodline is a dragon bloodline, much higher than Ling, hers. I can't even buy some essence blood from him. Say something and beg for mercy. This is related to Ling, hers future. Shui Yuner almost clamped her legs around Yi Qinghan, for fear that he would suddenly run away. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. He was afraid of hurting her and losing his grace. However, Shui Yuner's hot peaks were sticking so close to him. That softness was indeed comfortable, but it was too strange. Sister Yuner, forget it. Don't make things difficult for young Master Yi. Long Ling looked at Shui Yuner's shameless appearance and felt that she was making things difficult for her. This is the first time she has stuck to a man like this. It's obviously for her sake. No, why are you so disappointing? If you get the dragon essence blood, you can awaken the dragon bloodline in your body. Why don't you fight for it? It's not like you'll lose face. We're not trying to seduce you with beauty. We're buying. Shui Yuner said seriously. Isn't this a forced purchase? Girls, if you want the essence blood, you have to. The divine bird rushed out, but before it could finish speaking, it was slapped back by Yi Qinghan. Brother Qinghan, these are my best friends. They don't have any malice. If possible, I can guarantee that Ling will refine it in my room and won't leak your essence blood. Is that okay? Tuoba Xian looked at Shui Yuner's attitude and could only helplessly plead. Yi Qinghan could only nod and agree. The divine bird is spouting nonsense. Fairies, please don't take it to heart. The blood essence isn't that valuable, but it concerns my safety. If fellow Taoist dragon spirit refines it on the spot and completely fuses with it, I won't be unreasonable. Indeed, Xuan's words are the most effective. TSK. I've already pestered you to this extent, but you're still not moved. Sigh, am I that ugly? Shui Yuner hugged Yi Qinghan's arm with both hands and clamped Yi Qinghan's thigh between her legs. She stared at Yi Qinghan and pretended to be aggrieved as she asked. Tuoba Xian was overjoyed. Since Yi Qinghan could change his attitude because of her, it meant that he had some influence. Yi Qinghan could only smile bitterly. Fellow Taoist, please come down first. I will agree. Really? Shui Yuner's eyes widened and she asked excitedly. Really, absolutely. Yi Qinghan guaranteed. Only then did Shui Yuner let go of Yi Qinghan in satisfaction. The dragon spirit excitedly bowed and said, "Many thanks for young Master Ye's help. As long as young Master has a request, I will agree to any request. Forget it. As long as you refine a drop of blood essence, it's not a big deal to me. A pill can make up for it. Don't worry about it." Yi Qinghan mobilized his divine power and forced out a drop of blood essence that radiated divine light. It was filled with the majesty of a dragon, as if it was alive and had its own soul. Then, he sent it to the dragon spirit. At this moment, everyone looked over, attracted by that drop of blood essence. Dragon blood essence isn't so easy to obtain, especially in this day and age where dragons have long disappeared. This bloodline can only be found in some ancient dragon clan collateral inheritances that occasionally give birth to some pure dragon bloodline. However, it isn't a true dragon bloodline and is far less pure than Yi Qinghan's dragon blood. However, Yi Qinghan's blood essence still can't be considered dragon blood. Xianyuan Ao of the Xianyuan family walked over and asked faintly, "Fellow Taoist Yi, I wonder if you can sell me a portion of your blood essence." "Sorry, I won't sell it again." Yi Qinghan firmly refused. If the dragon spirit wasn't an inheritance of the dragon clan, he wouldn't have given it to her no matter what. Yi Qinghan looked at the blood essence in the dragon spirit's hand and said in a deep voice, please refine it. You can't take it away, or I will take it back. Tuoba Xianxian brought the dragon spirit into her boudoir and watched her refine it with her own eyes. This can also be considered as an explanation to Yi Qinghan. The pure dragon blood flowed on the dragon spirit's fingertips and actually seeped into her body through her skin. It turned into countless rays of divine light that rushed throughout her entire body, triggering the dragon bloodline genes in her body and continuously expanding outwards. Genes are really too rare. If it wasn't for the pure dragon blood essence, she wouldn't have been able to awaken the dragon bloodline. The genes in the dragon spirit's body exploded and flowed in all directions, breaking through her skin. Messy blood rushed out of her body and the blood cells began to produce new blood, replacing the impure blood with new blood. The dragon genes were stimulated by Yi Qinghan's blood essence. More and more genes were stimulated and replicated. The dragon genes appeared to be explosively filling the dragon spirit's body. The speed at which the blood cells were producing blood far exceeded the speed at which she was bleeding. The dragon blood boiled. The dragon spirit's physical body couldn't withstand such a strong impact at all. She couldn't help but groan and frown, but she still gritted her teeth and persevered. Sweat kept dripping from her forehead as her entire body was bathed in a river of blood. The powerful dragon blood began to transform her physical body. Her physical body was constantly being torn apart and reformed. The dragon aura in her body began to burst forth. This was the true aura of a dragon. Ah, the dragon spirit screamed. This heart-wrenching pain was unbearable. It was her first time refining her body, and it was passive. It was normal that she couldn't withstand it. Not many people could shatter their physical body and rebuild it like Yi Qinghan. Tuoba Xianxian frowned. She could see that the dragon spirit's pain was beyond her limit. The dragon bloodline was too powerful and shouldn't appear in the dragon spirit's body. Yi Qinghan didn't give it to her because he considered this point. Hua, Tuoba Xianxian opened the door and said to Yi Qinghan, "Fellow Taoist Yi, can you come in and help? Ling Er's physical body might not be able to withstand the dragon bloodline." "I don't know much about the dragon bloodline." Yi Qinghan's figure flashed and entered the room. He saw the dragon spirit clenching her teeth and persevering. Her teeth were even biting into her lips. It was obvious how determined she was to activate the dragon bloodline. "Relax, I'll help you. You just need to stay true to your heart." Yi Qinghan tapped the dragon spirit's forehead and sent the soul-suppressing pearl into her spiritual sea to ensure that her soul was highly awake. At least, her soul wouldn't die. With the soul-suppressing pearl, the dragon spirit's spiritual sea was clear. She was no longer drowsy. She opened her eyes and nodded gratefully. She said in a hoarse voice, "Thank you, young master." Yi Qinghan took the initiative to help the dragon spirit defend and prevent her body from exploding. The dragon bloodline was too powerful. It was so powerful that Yi Qinghan had to use all his strength to stabilize this unformed dragon bloodline. "Miss Xianxian, please guard the door. Don't let anyone in." Yi Qinghan clenched his teeth and shook his god power. He directly tore all the clothes on the dragon spirit's body, revealing a perfect body. Tuoba Xuanxuan's expression changed. If she didn't know Yi Qinghan's character, she would even think that Yi Qinghan was deliberately taking advantage of her. However, she knew that Yi Qinghan wouldn't do this just to see the dragon spirit's body. As long as he wanted it, there would be many people who would take the initiative to take off their clothes. Yi Qinghan poured out his god power and protected the surroundings. He started to reconstruct the dragon spirit's physical body from her heart. The fire origin wrapped around the two of them. Tuoba Xuanxuan's room started to burn. Chapter 792. In one of the Tuoba family's courtyards, flames rose into the sky as the formation was activated. Divine light shone brightly. Tuoba Xianxian persuaded everyone to leave, leaving only Shui Yuner and herself in the courtyard. The fire in the house burned for a day and a night. A giant dragon's god might was gradually rising. Its aura was terrifying, suppressing the entire Tuoba family. It even alerted the cultivators in Tuoba city. This was the aura of a true chaos dragon. It hadn't truly formed yet, but it was already rushing out in all directions. In an instant, it broke through the defense of Tuoba main city and rushed towards Qingshan continent. It was as though a true chaos dragon was awakening. Zhouxiao spacetime caused the river to reverse. Yin and Yang appeared, and the divine phoenix's shadow soared. Tuoba Quangjuan, Tuoba Zhouxiao, and the other half-step lords rushed out. They wanted to enter to investigate, but they were stopped by Tuoba Xianxian. What's going on? This is a giant dragon's aura. Why is it inside the Tuoba family? Tuoba Zhouxiao asked in a deep voice. It's the dragon spirit. The genes in its body have been activated by Yi Qinghan. It's rebuilding its golden body now, and it should be done soon. The two of you should go in later. If you interrupt the transformation, all your efforts will be in vain, Tuoba Xianxian explained. The range is too wide. It'll attract powerhouses to fight for the giant dragon's origin. Quangjuan, activate the family's defense formation. Forbid any half-step lords from entering the Tuoba family. Tuoba Zhouxiao's expression changed. Although he was an ultimate old monster, the chaos dragon's aura had shaken his body out of control. His qi and blood stagnated, and greed flashed through his eyes. Tuoba Quangjuan quickly left the courtyard and headed outside. He activated the outermost defense formation, followed by the chaos ancient formation inside. He activated the formation at all costs. Where's Yi Qinghan? Tuoba Zhouxiao asked. He's helping her rebuild her body. He has the dragon tribe's bloodline too. Although it's not a giant dragon's bloodline, it's second only to a giant dragon. His bloodline is pure. He's the only one who knows how to rebuild a dragon's body, Tuoba Xianxian replied. I've informed Uncle Long and my father. They should be here soon, Shui Yuner said in a deep voice when she saw Tuoba Zhouxiao's strange expression. Tuoba Zhouxiao's expression changed. If he wanted the dragon's origin, he would have to leave Yi Qinghan behind. Could the Tuoba family really resist the joint attack of Divine Tool sect, Long family, and Shui family? Moreover, the aura of the giant dragon bloodline's origin had already leaked out. Soon, there would be experts coming to snatch the origin. When that time came, the Tuoba family would not only be facing the three major forces, but the entire world. At this moment, the giant dragon bloodline origin inheritance was definitely not a good thing. It was a hot potato. Whoever caught it would be unlucky. Within 3 days, there would definitely be some old monsters gathering outside the Tuoba family. Reason prevailed over greed. His last bit of clarity told Tuoba Zhouxiao that he could not participate in the fight for the primal chaos dragon's origin for now. He had to wait for an opportunity. Even if he obtained the primal chaos dragon's origin now, he would need hundreds of years to refine it. Inside the room, Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit were submerged in the fire origin. Yi Qinghan did not expect that a drop of essence blood would be able to awaken the dragon spirit's primal chaos dragon's origin inheritance. Perhaps the dragon spirit had a lot of hidden giant dragon genes. This was the only explanation. Yi Qinghan knew his limits. He could not use a drop of essence blood to create a primal chaos dragon. Otherwise, the world would fight over him and he would be torn apart. The dragon spirit's soul was still conscious at this moment. The soul-suppressing pearl had played a great role. Although it was still very painful, Yi Qinghan had blocked off most of the meridians and veins, preventing the pain from reaching the dragon spirit's brain. After an entire day and night, he had only managed to create half of the dragon spirit's body. The giant dragon bloodline did not allow for carelessness. The slightest mistake could lead to a huge difference. If he wasted more time now, the dragon spirit's strength would be closer to the primal chaos dragons. The dragon spirit did not have any privacy. She was like a person created by Yi Qinghan, and Yi Qinghan was her creator. Her body was naked. At first, she was a little shy. Her breasts were in full view. Her flat stomach, sparkling legs, and arms were filled with dragon blood. The dragon's aura spread out, stimulating the dragon's aura in Yi Qinghan's body. Their blood roared at high speed, and the power of qi in blood exploded, shattering the room. Tuoba Xianxian and the rest all left the courtyard and waited quietly for the primal chaos dragon to be born. Half a day later, Tuoba Quangjuan came to report that the Shui family's head, Shui Wuhan, and the Long family's head, Long Canghai, had all arrived at the Tuoba family's city gate. Tuoba Jiuxiao hesitated for a moment, and said with a hoarse voice, "Let them in. Pass down the order. Everyone is to prepare for battle. From today onwards, no one is allowed to leave the Tuoba family. Anyone who enters has to get my permission. I don't think that's necessary. Once her body is formed, let Long Canghai take the dragon spirit away immediately. This hot potato can't be left in the Tuoba family. We don't need to participate in the battle between the two factions of chaos." Tuoba Quangjuan frowned and reminded. "I'm afraid it's too late. Once her body is formed, peerless experts will come. I don't know if the over-gods will appear, but there will be many people with cultivation like mine." Tuoba Jiuxiao understood the value of the primal chaos dragon's origin. Even if he did not have the dragon bloodline, he would be a giant dragon as long as he refined it. A primal chaos dragon. One of the over-gods. The quintessence of a over-god was not cultivated, but gathered from the origin. A giant dragon's origin could create a over-god's quintessence. This origin was too terrifying. Among the 10 great physiques, except for the first 2 and the 9 revolution chaos Dao body, the others were only over-gods. However, a primal chaos dragon was a over-god. After the first generation primal chaos dragon died, the quintessence dissipated and turned into an inheritance of the quintessence. Once it was gathered again, it would gradually condense again as the dragon spirit's realm rose. In the entire chaos verse, there were only 21 over-gods. No matter how strong someone was, they would not be able to condense a quintessence. They could only obtain a over-god's quintessence by fighting for it. Tuoba Quangjuan had no choice but to go to the periphery and lure Long Canghai and Shui Wuhan in. Long Canghai was a majestic man in his 40s. He was tall and sturdy, with a square face and ink-black hair. He must have been a peerless hero when he was young, but now he was very nervous. "Tuoba family head, what's going on? How could Ling awaken the giant dragon's bloodline origin?" Long Canghai was very nervous, fearing that Shui Yuner would misunderstand. "It's Yi Qinghan. He's the one who stimulated the dragon genes hidden in the dragon spirit's body. By chance, he unlocked the dragon bloodline's origin. He's currently in the process of forming his body. Just wait for a while. However, this old man will tell you in advance that once the formation is complete, you must take her and flee as far as possible. You must not let the experts find you. Abandoning the Long family is imperative. You can dismiss the Long family right now and let them join a family or power you can trust," Tuoba Jiuxiao said in a low voice. Long Canghai understood how terrifying the primal chaos dragon's origin was. It represented the inheritance of the first-generation primal chaos dragon. It would be light if the entire clear god continent was caught in the flames of war. If this spread to the upper plains, the Sisui continent would definitely be destroyed. Chapter 793. After confirming that dragon spirit had indeed awakened the chaos dragon bloodline, Long Canghai cried tears of joy. This was the only time in his life that he would cry. After a long time, he finally calmed down and remembered Yi Qinghan. He asked, "Who is Yi Qinghan? How come I've never heard of this name?" Shui Wuhan rolled her eyes and coldly said, I really don't know what kind of family head you are. Why don't you care about current affairs at all? Didn't Divine Tool Sect announce that they had accepted a young honorary deacon? Isn't that Yi Qinghan? Yes, it's him. He has a very pure dragon bloodline in his body. Although it's not a dragon bloodline, his bloodline may be even purer than your dragon bloodline. It was a drop of his blood essence that stimulated the dragon bloodline source in Sister Ling Er's body. Shui Yuner quickly said. This old man really has to thank him. He changed the Long family's fate and changed the Long family's situation. Where is he? Long Canghai asked excitedly. Uncle Long, he is helping Ling Er to form a golden dragon body. Ling Er's body is too weak. I can't help her, so I can only ask him. Tuoba Xianxian bowed. Ling Er is so lucky to have friends like you. But can this Yi Qinghan be trusted? What if he takes the opportunity? Long Canghai asked awkwardly. Don't worry, he is my friend. I trust him. Besides, this giant dragon bloodline origin was awakened by him. Even if he takes it away, you shouldn't say anything. Tuoba Xianxian said in a deep voice. She couldn't bear to see others not trusting Yi Qinghan. Long Canghai smiled. Within the flames, Yi Qinghan and dragon spirit's blood actually fused through their skin. Yi Qinghan's essence blood was also evolving. Perhaps there was a cause and effect. This was the great Tao of karma. With effort comes reward. The two's bloodlines were connected. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and felt his blood rapidly evolving into a giant dragon bloodline. Even without the Chaos Dragon bloodline origin, it is still a level stronger than before. Boom boom boom. His blood roared and boiled like 10,000 horses galloping. His black hair fluttered without wind. Yi Qinghan pressed his palms against his massive chest. He found it difficult to control his hands, but his heart was as calm as still water. He didn't have any evil thoughts as he continued to help the dragon spirit forge its body. After 2 days, he began to forge its head, the dragon's brain. This was the most difficult stage. If he wasn't careful, he could destroy Long Ling's physical body, crush her godhead, and kill her soul. The golden dragon godhead formed on its own. It was completely different from other godheads. It had its own profound laws and great Tao. Its veins and patterns were also fundamentally different from Yi Qinghan's dragon godhead. As for the specific effects, only the dragon spirit knew. Put your soul into your dragon godhood, and don't let it out. No matter what happens, just stay in there quietly. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes, looked directly at the dragon spirit, and spoke in a low voice. The dragon spirit's life was now completely in Yi Qinghan's hands. She trusted him, and felt that no one could make her safer than Yi Qinghan. Once she put her soul into the dragon godhead and ignored the outside world, it was the same as handing her body over to Yi Qinghan. No matter what he did, she wouldn't know until Yi Qinghan woke her up. But she didn't hesitate to do so. As soon as her soul entered the dragon godhead, the dragon spirit fell into a deep sleep. Yi Qinghan carefully modified every meridian, cell, and even a strand of hair in the dragon spirit's head. The brain was the most fragile part. Yi Qinghan even gave up on evolving his own blood and focused on strengthening her brain. He didn't make any changes, only strengthening it over and over again. With the slightest change, the dragon spirit wouldn't be able to control her body. After 3 whole days, the dragon spirit's body was finally completed. Yi Qinghan's godhead was almost completely exhausted. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand, and the surrounding flames rushed into the clouds, enveloping the two of them. Put on your clothes. First, comprehend the inheritance the Chaos bloodline gave you. With that, Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the ground and began to absorb the God force within the God crystals. He recovered his God force while evolving his bloodline. But without contact with the dragon spirit, the bloodline's evolution was too slow. It was so slow that it was negligible. Yi Qinghan could only swallow a large number of god pills to recover his god force. He wasted hundreds of god pills and thousands of top-grade god crystals to fill up the 12 godheads. Getting up, Yi Qinghan found the dragon spirit wearing a purple robe staring at him. Her eyes were very pure, without any distracting thoughts. There was only deep gratitude. "Raise your hands and face me," Yi Qinghan said calmly. The dragon spirit didn't ask. She stretched out her jade arms and spread her slender fingers slightly. She didn't know what Yi Qinghan wanted to do. Yi Qinghan's large hands clasped the dragon spirit's 10 fingers and took the initiative to absorb the dragon blood in her body. He found that it was still unimpeded, as if this body was his. The dragon spirit was shocked to find that her blood was actually under Yi Qinghan's control. However, she was not afraid. If Yi Qinghan wanted to harm her, he could have crushed her to death with a stretch of his hand. There was no need for him to waste so much time and specially create a body for her. With the support of the Chaos Dragon bloodline, Yi Qinghan's blood evolved rapidly. It successfully evolved into a colossal dragon bloodline that was second only to the Chaos Dragon bloodline. His physical body was refined again, and his cultivation base stabilized at perfect intermediate high god level. He was only a hair's breadth away from high god level and could break through at any time. The outer walls of the Tuoba residence had collapsed, and the flames of war were everywhere. There were at least 30 half-step lords in the vicinity, but they could not do anything to the inner walls of the Tuoba residence. Rainbow runes emanated from the inner walls like divine weapons. As long as the enemy attacked, the runes would counterattack. However, the Tuoba residence on the outer perimeter was completely annihilated. Tuoba Jiuxiao was livid. The current situation was not much different from what he had imagined. Although the outer formation was powerful, it could not withstand the attacks of so many half-step lords. Most of them were strangers. He had no idea where so many half-step lords had come from. There were also some half-step lords from Sisui continent. They were either clan masters, sect masters, or terrifying independent cultivators. They wandered around the Tuoba residence's outer perimeter fearlessly. Their motives were self-evident. It was impossible to hide the colossal dragon bloodline's origin. After the dragon spirit bloodline was activated, the origins might had already spread. Tuoba Jiuxiao, open the city gates and hand her over. I won't make things difficult for the Tuoba family. An old man who had been through the vicissitudes of life had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He seemed amiable, but he was ruthless when it came to killing. If he had not been worried about incurring public wrath, he might have razed the Tuoba main city to the ground, let alone the Tuoba family's collateral forces. Tuoba Jiuxiao's face turned purple. If he opened the city gates now, not only would he offend the Shui and Long clans, but he would also benefit these bastards. They had killed millions of collateral clan members. You bastards, you've razed my clan's collateral clan without even asking. Now you're asking me to open the city gates. Do you think there's no one left in the Tuoba bloodline? I'll protect this colossal dragon bloodline for sure. I'll guarantee her safety for the rest of her life. She'll avenge my clan. Tuoba Jiuxiao roared fiercely, enraged. Long Canghai only breathed a sigh of relief after Tuoba Jiuxiao declared his stance. If Tuoba Jiuxiao could not withstand the pressure and kicked him and Long Canghai out of the Tuoba residence, he alone would not be able to protect Long Canghai no matter what. Yi Qinghan had no idea that Long Canghai's bloodline possessed the origin of the first-generation Chaos Colossal Dragon, nor did he know that he had attracted countless powerhouses at the moment. He also did not know that An Xian had told Zhouyin Fort's chief manager, who was his father, about him activating Long Canghai's dragon spirit bloodline. His father had even gathered several half-step lords to descend on the Tuoba residence's outer perimeter. Chapter 794. The Tuoba family was in trouble. Powerhouses were everywhere, and no one dared to speak unless they were half-step lords. Yi Qinghan and Long Ling arrived at the city wall and looked at the collapsed perimeter. Countless powerhouses had descended upon the city, and a primeval aura filled the air as if an era had arrived. Half-step lords were everywhere, and they were shocked. After Tuoba Xuanxuan's explanation, Yi Qinghan finally understood that what he had activated was not some colossal dragon bloodline, but an existence with the chaos colossal dragon's origin. Perhaps no one would dare to touch her if she was in defiant clouds. Unfortunately, she was born in the wrong family. She was born in the Long family, and the Long family could not protect her. Gradually, almost all the powerhouses of Sisui Dimension had arrived, including the sect master of Divine Weapon sect. Even the factions from the Chaos Era began to appear. The Witch Tribe's faction and the Great Demon Gods faction were low-level existences, but they were still very powerful in this era. Tuoba Guangjuan looked at Tuoba Jiuxiao, hoping that he would change his mind. The Tuoba family should not have interfered in this matter at all. The price was too high. There was still room for negotiation now. As long as Long Canghai and Long Ling were expelled, the Tuoba family could stay out of this. However, was there really any room for retreat now? Once the city gates were opened and the formation defense was abandoned, these powerhouses could raze this ancient giant city to the ground in an instant. Boom, there was a loud bang, and a figure sped over from afar. He reached out and suppressed a half-step lord, crushing his body. Even his godhead could not escape. Hiss, everyone gasped and turned to look at the newcomer. The newcomer was a middle-aged man in a cloud robe with a cloud embroidered on his shoulder. The cloud was even drifting as if it was real. It was impossible for anyone who had been in Sisui Dimension for many years not to recognize this person. He was a high-ranking member of Defiant Clouds, the #1 organization in Sisui Dimension. This person was called Ni Shueyun, and he was ranked 3rd in Defiant Clouds. On the surface, he was also ranked 5th in Sisui Dimension. One could imagine how many powerhouses Defiant Clouds had hidden. Ni Shueyun looked down at everyone, and his eyes swept across the crowd. A disdainful sneer appeared at the corner of his lips as he said coldly, "Do you think the Chaos Colossal Dragon's bloodline origin is something that children like you can meddle with? Get lost." The pressure was monstrous as Ni Shueyun's aura rushed out in defiance of the heavens, sweeping through all the heroes in the heavens. Even Yi Qinghan, who was standing on the city wall and protected by the array formation, felt the pressure multiply. This was the first time Yi Qinghan had seen such an expert. Perhaps it was because Nine Nether had never been angry, otherwise, he would have been able to feel the same pressure. However, no one retreated. Not a single person retreated. It wasn't that they didn't want to give Ni Shueyun face, nor was it that they didn't want to give Ni Yunduan face. It was just that the primal chaos dragon's origin involved too many things. It involved the war between the sorcerer race and the great demonic god's bloodline. It even involved the supreme godhead. Just Ni Yunduan's top 3 experts weren't enough to suppress these people. This matter has nothing to do with you, Ni Yunyun. Ni Yunyun, don't get involved in the war between the witch tribe and the great demonic god's bloodline. Otherwise, the tyrannical Ni Yunyun will be annihilated in an instant. It was at this moment that the old master of divine artifact sect stepped forward. His aura was no weaker than Ni Shueyun's. True experts were beginning to show themselves. Ni Shueyun frowned. Divine Artifact sect didn't show itself, but no one dared to offend them. Even Ni Yunyun had to give them face because in the Chaos Era, Divine Artifact sect was at its peak. As the saying went, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. No matter how far it had fallen, it wasn't something that the forces of this era could provoke. This is no longer the Chaos Era. I, Ni Yun, have the final say in Sisui realm, said Ni Shueyun coldly. The battle physique is about to appear, and the Chaos Era is coming. If you take action today, it means that Ni Yun Yun is participating in the war between the two factions. When the time comes, it doesn't matter whether you take sides or not. You'll just be cannon fodder. Everything I say is true. Believe me or not, but if you insist on interfering, I won't say anything more, said the old master calmly. Many people were disdainful. What kind of force could annihilate Ni Yun Yun, who was at the peak of his power? Perhaps only these decadent clans would dare to say such frightening words because of their ancient heritage. Ni Yun Yun laughed evilly. Of course, he did not believe it either. However, Yi Qin Han believed him, because he had seen the second sorcerer god before. Although he did not understand this level of combat, he knew that compared to the second sorcerer god, killing these people was as easy as waving his hand. I, Ni Yun Duan, will not give up on the Chaos Dragon origin. In 2 days, my first elder and second elder will appear at the same time. If you don't agree, you can try. I want to see what kind of power can annihilate me, Ni Yun Duan. Ni Shuiyun didn't argue with the old sect master but didn't care about his words either. Ah, I'm Taoist Jiu Shan. I've lived in the Sisui realm for so many years, spanning several eras. How can I only talk big? I've seen too many master gods hiding everywhere, waiting for the right opportunity. How many master gods can you have in the anti-cloud realm? Taoist Jiu Shan sighed. How many over-gods had come to Divine Artifact Sect in order to forge over-god weapons? How many over-gods had chosen to lie low and wait for chaos to descend? And how many over-gods had fought in the dark without the mortals seeing? Ants would never see a master god fighting because they weren't qualified. They were mocking the existence of such an existence. Ignorance made people brave. Apart from the lofty master gods, Taoist Jiu Shan was the only one who truly understood the world. Not even 9 Nether could reach that level because master gods needed Divine Artifact Sect to forge over-god weapons. Even if Divine Artifact Sect couldn't forge over-god weapons right now, master gods wouldn't offend them. They would even protect Divine Artifact Sect because Divine Artifact Sect would be able to forge over-god weapons sooner or later. A master god without a master god weapon was definitely no match for a master god who had one. A master god weapon could increase a master god strength by 50%. 50% was unimaginable. No matter how profound a master god's understanding of the profound laws or the origin of the great Tao was, they couldn't exceed 50% of a master god's combat power. There was no difference between master gods and master gods. The slightest carelessness could lead to death. Everyone, as long as you give me face and let me take the dragon spirit, Divine Artifact Sect will owe you a favor in the future. Taoist Jiu Shan said in a low voice. On the surface, Divine Artifact Sect was the representative of the Sorcerer Gods faction. They had the right to make such a promise. Ha ha ha. Old Taoist Jiu Shan, you're not dead yet. As long as I'm here today, you won't be able to take the dragon spirit away. She must die here. Moreover, her origin will be destroyed. Whoosh! A black shadow covered the sky. His might was so great that some of the half-step lords were forced to retreat. Another invincible expert had arrived. Even Ni Shuiyun's expression changed at this moment. He had thought that he could really be ranked in the top 5 of Si Shui, but 2 people who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him had appeared in an instant. Demon Fiend was the representative of the great demonic gods faction. As long as he and Taoist Jiu Shan didn't emerge victorious, the master gods behind them wouldn't appear. Taoist Jiu Shan sighed. He knew that today's matter couldn't be resolved peacefully. If he had come earlier to take the dragon spirit away, he might have been able to protect her and the Chaos Dragon bloodline origin. However, it was very difficult now. Yi Qinghan's expression turned extremely ugly as well. He hadn't expected that chaos would come before he had even grown up. Tuoba Joxiao regretted his participation in this matter. The Tuoba family couldn't take it anymore and finally compromised. He said to the crowd, as long as you retreat 1,500 kilometers away from the Tuoba family's main city, I'll send the two from the Long family and Yi Qinghan out of the city. The Tuoba family won't interfere in your quarrels. If you don't compromise, then let's just wait. I believe that the Tuoba family's primordial city can withstand all of your combined attacks for at least 3 years. Chapter 795. When Tuoba Jiuxiao decided not to participate, the 5 elders of the Tuoba family stood in a row, hoping that Long Canghai and Shui Wuhan would respect the Tuoba family's decision. Tuoba Xuanxuan's expression changed slightly, and she begged softly, "Grandpa, this has nothing to do with Yi Qinghan. You don't understand. Yi Qinghan can activate the Chaos Dragon's bloodline origin, so he'll be the target of both camps. There's no difference between keeping him and keeping Dragon Spirit. Don't gamble with your family's legacy," Tuoba Jiuxiao said firmly. Although Long Canghai could understand Tuoba Jiuxiao's decision, if it were him, he would not give up his family's legacy for another tribe's top genius. The city wall would fall sooner or later, so there was no difference whether it fell sooner or later. "Yi Qinghan, I'm sorry for dragging you into this," Long Canghai said with a bitter smile. Yi Qinghan shook his head. Everything in the world had karma. If it weren't for his benevolence, the blood in Long Ling's body wouldn't have been stimulated. However, everything had its own will. 2 people who shouldn't have crossed paths had bumped into each other. This was an illusory fate. "It's all right. Let's leave it to fate," Yi Qinghan said calmly. Perhaps he was the only one who could remain so calm in the face of so many powerhouses. Shui Wuhan's expression was terrible, and she said with a bitter smile, "Brother Canghai, please forgive me for my selfishness. I can't accompany you out of the city today. However, if you die in battle, I can at least preserve some of the Long family's bloodline. We won't be wiped out. That's enough, please." Long Canghai was very grateful. This promise was better than Shui Wuhan going out with him to his death. 2 half-step lords who could not even make it into the rankings would definitely die if they went out. They would not be able to do anything. Since Demon Fiend and Ni Shuiyun had agreed to retreat, Daoist Jiu Shan could only agree. Now, they could only wait for the 2 main characters, Yi Qinghan and Long Ling, to appear. One side would fight while the other would kill. Once Demon Fiend succeeded, this battle might end prematurely. If Daoist Jiu Shan succeeded, it would be an endless pursuit. All the experts retreated 3,000 miles away from the main city. The reason why Tuoba Jiuxiao wanted to maintain this distance was clearly not to buy time for Yi Qinghan, but to give the Tuoba family time to activate the defensive formation again. Yi Qinghan, Long Ling, and Long Canghai appeared at the city gate and waited for it to open. Long Canghai instantly became much older. He looked at Long Ling helplessly, stroked her head, and said in pain, "Ling, it's all Father's fault for not being able to protect you." Long Ling felt a lump in her throat. She regretted asking Yi Qinghan for his blood essence. However, she had only hoped to become stronger and protect the Long family. She had never thought that she would bring the Long family to eternal damnation. "Father, I'm sorry. I didn't know things would turn out this way." Although Long Ling possessed the Chaos Dragon bloodline origin, she had yet to cultivate the secret skill inheritance. Her ability was too weak, and she had little combat experience. At the moment, her physique was even worse than an ordinary person's. She was helpless in this situation. Long Canghai turned his head to look at Yi Qinghan. His fingertips were trembling as he said hoarsely, "Yi Qinghan, seeing how calm you are, you must have a way to protect yourself. I'm willing to sacrifice myself to buy you 5 breaths of time. Please take Ling, with you and escape. The great demon god's representative won't let you go anyway. You'll still be escaping if you run, so taking Ling, with you shouldn't affect your speed. Is that okay?" Self-destruction. He had said it without hesitation and was not afraid of death. This was the great love of a father. He only hoped that Long Ling would have a glimmer of hope to escape. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. The reason why he was so calm was that he knew there was no hope, so he faced it calmly. Faced with so many powerhouses, unless he was a half-step lord, there was no way he could escape at all. Why should he put on a useless and pitiful act? I'm not confident. Whether I take Long Ling or not, it won't affect me at all. However, I know that my chances of escaping are less than 10%. It might even be less than 10%. At most, there's only a 1% chance, Yi Qinghan said helplessly. Having hope is better than having no hope at all. I'll self-destruct to create a gap for you and give you another chance. I only ask that you don't give up on Ling Er's life unless you have no other choice. Is that okay? Long Canghai pleaded in a low voice. Sure. I told you that taking her with me won't affect my speed. As long as I can escape, she won't die, Yi Qinghan agreed with a nod. Daddy. Sob, what should I do? I don't want you to die. I don't want you to self-destruct. If you're gone, who's going to love me? Long Ling cried bitterly. She held on to Long Canghai tightly and refused to let go. You have the Chaos Dragon bloodline. You're a Chaos Dragon now. You should be strong and try your best to survive. Avenge me and your people. Do you understand? Long Canghai said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan said nothing. Instead, he tapped the back of Long Ling's neck with a finger directly. She fainted right away and fell into his arms. He picked up the seemingly boneless Long Ling and said softly, "Rest in peace, Senior. If I manage to escape, naturally, it's because your self-destruction has given me a chance to live. I can't promise you anything else, but at least I can keep her safe for the rest of her life." Thank you. Long Canghai bowed deeply. Creak, the city gate opened. There was only a small gap, which was enough for two people to walk side by side. Long Canghai and Yi Qinghan stepped out of the Tuoba residence's city gate together with Long Ling. The city gate closed immediately, and the formation activated immediately, leaving them no room at all. Whoosh, Yi Qinghan placed Long Ling on his back and tied her to his back with the God-whipping whip. He held Berserk in his hand and summoned the Golden Crow. He said in a low voice, "Prepare for battle. Today, I'm going to burn 80,000 miles and kill anyone who gets in my way." The little Golden Crow had broken through. It had devoured the fire spirit and successfully mastered a rank 16 divine fire. That was a flame that could burn a half-step lord. Even Taoist Jiu Shan of the Divine Weapon sect could not master a rank 16 divine fire. One could only imagine the power of such a flame. This was the 10% chance that Yi Qinghan had mentioned. Yi Qinghan was augmented with a rank 16 fire origin. In addition to Long Canghai's self-destruction, their chances of escaping were increased to 20%. As long as they could break out of the encirclement, they would be free to fly. Then, they would begin a life of endless escape. They must not show themselves. This group of half-step lords was not like Zi Chongyun and the rest. They would not stand a chance at all. The two of them soared into the air and charged out of the main city, taking the initiative to charge forward. Nobody moved. They were surrounded by powerhouses everywhere. The three of them could not escape. Devil Fiend was confident of this, so he did not move at all. Since Devil Fiend did not move, Taoist Jiu Shan naturally would not move. Nishui Yun did not move either. They were all waiting. Basically, whoever made the first move now would be attacked by the group. Since this group of desperados had dared to snatch the Chaos Dragon's origin, they had not considered that both camps would want to go into hiding as soon as possible after obtaining the origin. They would only reappear after becoming lords. At that moment, a figure descended from the sky. This person wore a suit of golden battle armor and held a golden battle spear in his hand. Everyone gasped when he appeared because he was so young, just like an 18 or 19-year-old teenager. Most importantly, he was not among the top 5 of the younger generation in Sisui realm. Atlas Spear. He has the Atlas Combat Constitution. Taoist Jiu Shan blurted out. His expression changed drastically. Chapter 796. Taoist Jiu Shan blurted out the Atlas Combat Constitution, shocking everyone. Even Devil Fiend was stunned. Among the 10 Chaos Combat Constitutions, those who could be called combat constitutions were naturally the backbone of the two camps. They were people who could influence the outcome of a battle. The Atlas Combat Constitution ranked 10th. Although it was ranked 10th, in terms of combat strength, the Atlas Combat Constitution ranked first among those of the same level apart from the Supreme Gods and the other 9 combat constitutions. No matter how powerful a lord was, they would not be able to withstand a single blow from it. The Atlas Combat Constitution was very young. He looked like he was only 18 or 19 years old, but his cultivation base was at high-level high god. His cold eyes froze time and space, suppressing half-step lords to the point that they dared not speak. This was absolute strength. Yi Qinghan's expression changed. The Atlas Combat Constitution was one of the top powerhouses of the great demon god bloodline. He did not expect this inheritance to appear now. Stop the Atlas Combat Constitution. I'll take care of the rest, Yi Qinghan reminded in a deep voice. Long Canghai immediately knew that the Atlas Combat Constitution was a variable that rendered his self-destruction useless. However, Yi Qinghan would not have been able to escape if Long Canghai had not self-destructed. The Atlas Combat Constitution alone was enough to keep him here. Welcome, Lord Atlas, Devil Fiend said respectfully. Atlas Combat Constitution stepped forward with his spear in hand, not even looking at Devil Fiend. Apart from lords, no one else could catch the eye of the Atlas Combat Constitution. Once he became a lord, other lords would not be a threat to him. Give me the dragon spirit and I'll grant you an intact corpse, Atlas Combat said coldly as he stared straight at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes at Atlas Combat Constitution. He knew that he was no match for him unless he became a high-level high god and used all his strength. Only then would he be able to fight him to a draw. Under such circumstances, he would definitely die. Yi Qinghan scanned his surroundings, looking for a weak point and preparing to break out of the encirclement. At that moment, there was no way out. His front, back, left, and right were all sealed. Are you ready? Yi Qinghan asked Long Canghai telepathically. I'm ready. You can get ready to break out at any time. I'll cooperate with you. Long Canghai gave up completely. He was definitely going to die today. Then let's move. I'll break out from the right. You block Sky Pillar. Before Yi Qinghan could finish his sentence, he stomped on the ground and rushed to the right. Whoosh! The right side was the weakest. There was no upstream cloud, no existence like Taoist Jiu Shan and Devil Fiend. The little golden crow's mouth of fire covered the entire space and time. Through the origin of fire, Yi Qinghan stirred up the flames and blasted them in all directions. Even half-step lords would have to stay away from a rank 16 flame. One of the half-step lords with a weaker cultivation base was engulfed as soon as he came into contact with the rank 16 flames. There was no way to destroy him. He howled in agony and roared madly. In a short while, he turned into a wisp of ash and scattered with the wind. The second half-step lord was tainted by the origin of fire as he tried to stop Yi Qinghan forcefully. Sensing that something was amiss, he soared into the clouds and bellowed, "That's a rank 16 divine fire." When everyone heard that, they fled madly, not daring to stop him at all. Yi Qinghan seized the opportunity to break out of the encirclement. Together with the Pishio, he mobilized the spatial order and vanished in a flash. Who dares come here? Just as everyone was about to give chase, Long Sanghai mobilized his divine power and devoured divine pills like a madman. The divine power in his body was no longer under his control. However, he continued to absorb divine power and was about to self-destruct. At that moment, the Atlas Combat Constitution spear pierced through the void as fast as lightning. Without giving Long Sanghai a chance to self-destruct, the spear pierced through Long Sanghai's head and plucked out his godhead. Long Sanghai's body, which was about to self-destruct, shriveled rapidly like a deflated balloon. This was the power of the 10 combat constitutions. Humph, how dare an ant offend a god? The Atlas Combat Constitution snorted coldly and shattered Long Sanghai's godhead. Then, he hurled his spear directly in the direction Yi Qinghan had fled. Whoosh! The void shattered continuously and the spatial order distorted. It was trying to smash Yi Qinghan out of the alternate dimension. The power of this attack covered more than 5,000 kilometers. It ignored time and space and stabbed at Yi Qinghan's back in the blink of an eye. It was the Lord's weapon, the Atlas Combat Spear. It was unstoppable. Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end. He was far slower than the combat spear. All he could do was swing his sword backward and strike the Atlas Combat Spear squarely. Boom! The two attacks surged into the galaxy and across the surface of the water. Pfft! Yi Qinghan coughed up blood and flew backward. The web between his thumb and forefinger was torn, but he didn't panic. He took advantage of the momentum and disappeared again. The sky-raising battle spear was sent flying by the saber strike, flying thousands of miles away. The sky-raising battle spear was then caught by the sky-raising battle spear. At this moment, there was a look of shock in his eyes. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be able to withstand this attack and not die. The Atlas Combat Constitution was so powerful that even Yi Qinghan's 5-elemental Daoist constitution couldn't withstand a single blow from the Atlas Combat Constitution. It was hard to imagine what the 3rd and 4th ranked Void Daoist constitution and Ethereal constitution would be like when they unleashed their full power. Yi Qinghan wasn't in the mood to fight. He just wanted to escape from this place as far as possible. Behind him, Taoist Jiu Shan was entangled by the demonic fiends. There were no more powerhouses in the Sisui realm to help Yi Qinghan. Those who chased after him were all trying to stop him. Most people began to take a detour to stop Yi Qinghan. Only a small number of people chased after him. Ni Shui Yun and Sky Pillar pursued Yi Qinghan in a straight line. One wanted to seize the Chaos Dragon's source while the other wanted to destroy it. However, Sky Pillar wanted to destroy the source of the Chaos Dragon's source. That was to kill Yi Qinghan and make the Chaos Dragon's source disappear completely. To eliminate all future troubles. Yi Qinghan had used Wind Mark to perform stellar transposition in the Milky Way and was recognized by Qing Tian. So it's the successor of the witch tribe. Kid, you can't escape from me today. Die! Atlas shouted. Boom! Boom! Atlas kept piercing through the void and was always able to accurately find Yi Qinghan's trace. The three of them were moving as fast as they could. Yi Qinghan couldn't hide his strength anymore. He unleashed the full power of his mid-level great deity cultivation and Wind Mark to the limit. He constantly changed his trajectory and tore through space, trying to shake off the two powerhouses behind him. However, he couldn't shake them off. Instead, the distance between them was closing. Whoosh! The little golden crow turned around and spat out 2 mouthfuls of fire. It wanted to delay the two for a moment. Now, even a breath could save Yi Qinghan's life. Ni Shui Yun and the other powerhouses directly shattered space and caused space-time turbulence to devour the origin of fire. However, their figures paused and the distance between them increased again. Atlas was even more terrifying. He directly pierced through the void with his spear and spun in the void at high speed. He passed through the flames without any hindrance to his speed. Damn it, how can these two be so fast? The divine bird grabbed Yi Qinghan's shoulder and flashed. It wanted to kill the two of them. Find a way to shake them off. Yi Qinghan's brain was working at high speed. He kept looking and listening while carrying the dragon spirit on his back. Chapter 797. Yi Qinghan was in pursuit, while Qing Tian and Ni Shuiyun were in hot pursuit. Countless half-step lords surrounded them from the sides while the half-step lords took detours to block the various exits. Now, they were hoping that Yi Qinghan would catch up to them, kill Yi Qinghan, seize the origin, and leave. They would flee to remote villages until they mastered the supreme godhead. Everyone wanted to take a gamble. If they gambled right, they would enjoy eternal glory. If they gambled wrong, they would not lose anything. With such a gambler's mentality, Yi Qinghan was completely at a loss as to where there was a way out and where there was a way out. There was no place to stand in the vast Sisui River. Yi Qinghan had no other choice but to flee now. Moreover, he had to flee with dragon spirit. The people behind him could catch up with him while he unlocked the god's metal chains. Swoosh, 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 Yi Qinghan slashed several times consecutively, slashing through the shackles and crushing the space behind him, blocking his escape route. He kept leaping in the void to prevent the two behind him from catching his tracks. The three of them formed a triangle, leaving 3 trails of flames in the void and illuminating the galaxy for thousands of kilometers. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. There were tens of thousands of them. Yi Qinghan was forced to use the god's chaos origin. A massive amount of divine power poured out, breaking through the barrier of high-level high god. His speed increased abruptly, increasing by several times. He disappeared in an instant. Humph. Qing Tian and Ni Shuiyun grunted at the same time. They each used their secret techniques, doubling the consumption of their divine power. Their speed was pushed to the limit. Yin and Yang reversed, and time and space flowed backward. Such secret techniques consumed their divine power too quickly. The two of them would not use them unless they had no other choice. Once their divine power was depleted, they would be in grave danger. Now, Yi Qinghan had forced them to use it. Even though Yi Qinghan had broken through, he dared not stay behind to fight the two of them. It would be good enough if he could fight one of them until both sides were injured. Moreover, he knew that he was no match for either of them. Whoosh! The space before them collapsed. Black vortexes appeared one after another like black holes. As they chased each other, the three of them ran out of dozens of major cities' territories for 3 days and nights. Hoo. Ni Shuiyun and Sky High's faces were flushed red. Their god power began to falter and they were panting. However, Yi Qinghan was like a madman. He only cared about escaping. Although his god power's speed was not as fast as before, he was still holding on. Qing Tian had never seen anyone use their divine power to the point of vomiting. It was the same for Ni Shuiyun. Yi Qinghan's divine power seemed to be inexhaustible, and his body would not tire. No half-step lord would be able to endure running at this speed for 3 days and 3 nights. Fuck. Are you two bastards done yet? Why are you chasing us? The divine bird roared. It was scared witless from being chased by these two experts. Die for me. Ni Shuiyun was flustered and exasperated. He shattered the void with his palm and directly smashed towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan, you can't escape. Why struggle? In order to conserve his god power, Sky High had stopped attacking. In the past 3 days, he had unleashed more than 30 spear attacks. However, he had not caused any damage to Yi Qinghan. Instead, he had wasted a lot of energy. Yi Qinghan did not reply. It was better to run a little longer than to talk nonsense with them. However, the divine bird was willing to talk nonsense with them. Its sharp claws tightened around Yi Qinghan and it roared to the rear, "You two little bastards, how obedient. Hurry up and chase after them." Sky High and Ni Shuiyun were furious. The divine bird had been chattering non-stop along the way. Apart from cursing, there was nothing good or bad about it. "You two old bastards, this divine bird will let you have a pair of wings. If you catch up to me, I'll acknowledge you as my grandsons," the divine bird mocked loudly. Roar! Sky High was furious. He channeled his god power into his spear and shook the heavens. The Golden Atlas battle spear destroyed everything in its path. It blasted towards Yi Qinghan with the power to destroy heaven and earth. Yi Qinghan's figure plunged rapidly into the ground. Through Earth origin and stellar transposition, he appeared thousands of miles away and dodged the fatal blow. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan did not continue to hide underground. Instead, he ran into the sky and said to the divine bird, "Continue to provoke them. Make them attack and exhaust their strength." The divine bird heard this and immediately put in more effort. It shouted, "Grandsons, is this all you've got? What bullshit 10 great physiques. You're not even qualified to wipe my ass." Ah! Sky High was burning with anger. He controlled the battle spear in the air and it turned into thousands of rays of divine light. It charged towards Yi Qinghan and surrounded him. This attack had exhausted all of his god power. 10-direction seal. 10-direction protection. Yi Qinghan channeled Sorcerer Origin into the 10-direction seal and activated the Master God Artifact's power. It protected his body and allowed the battle spear to strike him. Boom! The battle spear and the 10-direction seal collided. It was deafening, and the aftermath shattered everything in all directions. Thud, 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 Yi Qinghan held the 10-direction seal and was pushed back a few thousand meters. However, he managed to block it. His face was pale, and he coughed out blood. His eyes were red. At this moment, the gap between him and Sky High was too big. He was far from being his opponent. Sky High looked at Yi Qinghan in disbelief. He had exhausted all of his god power to attack, but it did not kill Yi Qinghan. 10-direction seal. Wasn't this 10-direction seal destroyed? Sky High roared and looked at the 10-direction seal in disbelief. However, he did not know that the 10-direction seal had been repaired by the second sorcerer god. Sky High's god power was exhausted. Yi Qinghan took the attack. Instead of being shocked, he was happy. Now, only 30% of Ni Shuiyun's strength was left. At this moment, Ni Shuiyun attacked aggressively. Even 30% of his strength was not something Yi Qinghan could contend against. The will of the surroundings was controlled by him, and the space became sticky. It was impossible to tear through space. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan rushed underground again and fled with the dragon spirit. He constantly changed his position and climbed out of the ground to attract Ni Shuiyun's attacks. Boom boom boom. A mountain range was flattened by Ni Shuiyun. Yi Qinghan coughed out blood from the aftermath. His face was pale. The 12 godhoods could not withstand the consumption. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan rushed out of the ground and rose vertically. He pointed behind him and released the dragon spirit's restriction. He shouted in a low voice, "Prepare to fight. You have the bloodline of the Chaos Dragon. Don't be afraid. Their god power has been consumed. Later, you and the little golden crow will hold this old man back. I will kill this so-called Sky High." The dragon spirit trembled and asked with a crying voice, "Where is my father?" "Dead. If you want to avenge him, do your best to hold Ni Shuiyun back. Remember, you are a dragon, a true chaos dragon." Yi Qinghan growled and tore the chains on his body apart. He grabbed the dragon spirit and attacked Ni Shuiyun again. Yi Qinghan mobilized the 10-direction seal and smashed it against his opponent's sword. He hoped to use the seal to consume the last of Ni Shuiyun's god power. Boom! The 10-direction seal was a lord weapon. Even if it had not been revived, it was not something that a half-step lord could destroy. Bang! The sword collided with the 10-direction seal. The seal did not shatter, but the divine sword in Ni Shuiyan's hand shattered. The sword turned into countless sword gleams that charged in all directions. Pft! Ni Shuiyan coughed out blood. He was dizzy from the impact of the 10-direction seal. He was no longer at his peak combat strength. In fact, he had less than 20% of his strength left. After the collision, he was left with less than 10%. How could he defend against such an aftermath? The divine sword shattered again. The attack hit his soul. His face was pale. His body trembled and fell from the void. Now! Kill him! Yi Qinghan roared and tossed the dragon spirit toward Ni Shuiyan. Whoosh! Little golden crow charged out of his body and engulfed Ni Shuiyan in flames. Roar! The dragon spirit was awakened by Yi Qinghan's furious roar. It activated its giant dragon bloodline and turned into a coiling dragon. It curled its gigantic tail and covered the sky. It smashed viciously toward Ni Shuiyan, who was on the ground. Yi Qinghan charged toward the sky with his saber. His aura rose and he defied the heavens. Chapter 798. Sky-bearing hadn't expected Yi Qinghan to still have the strength to fight back, and he couldn't help but be shocked. His divine power had already been exhausted, and he hadn't had the time to recover yet. It was impossible for him to fight a monster like Yi Qinghan with just his physical strength. Yi Qinghan swooped down from the sky and swung his saber. Ripples appeared in the air as his force was activated. It was as if he was carrying the will of the great Tao and wanted to destroy Sky-bearing. Sky-bearing was shocked. He quickly swallowed a divine pill and gathered a bit of power in an extremely short time. He waved his spear and stabbed at Yi Qinghan. Boom! Although it was a short burst of power, it was enough to destroy mountains and rivers. It crashed toward Zhongquan. Boom! With a twist of his waist, Yi Qinghan unleashed his strongest power in midair and slammed it against the spear. Fight! With a roar, the sound of the collision tore through the eardrums. Yi Qinghan bled from his 7 orifices. Even his powerful 5-elemental Tao body was shattered. His dragon blood boiled, but he still could not stop himself from being defeated. His body flew into the distance like a kite with a broken string, creating a 1,000-meter-deep trench in the ground. Poof! Sky-bearing's divine power was too little. It was so little that it could be ignored. He had only relied on his body's physical strength, but he had withstood half of Yi Qinghan's power. He rolled on the ground and coughed up blood. Golden blood spurted out of his body and dyed the sky-bearing spear red. The spear was revived and emitted a heaven-defying divine light that illuminated the water surface. The Master God weapon's might was vast and powerful. It crushed the shackles. Everything within 1,000 miles was suppressed by this terrifying aura and did not dare to move. Ah! Sky-bearing stood up in a panic and roared at the sky like a mad demon. His eyes were red as he stared at Yi Qinghan. He reached out to grab the sky-bearing spear and roared hoarsely, "Ant, how dare you injure my body? I'll make sure you die without a complete corpse." Yi Qinghan pierced through the mountain rock with his saber and stood up with Zhongquan. The dragon blood dyed Zhongquan red. His black hair fluttered, and his aura became stronger and stronger. His ability to use force was becoming more and more proficient. Boom! Yi Qinghan was extremely domineering. He stepped into the sky with his blade and replied hoarsely, "Today, let's see if the 10 major constitutions can kill me without divine power." Swish! Swish! Yi Qinghan formed a seal with one hand and mobilized the seal of 10 directions to charge into the sky in an attempt to restrain the heaven-raising spear. In this situation, Yi Qinghan did not have the upper hand. After all, Qin Tian was a peak high-level high god while Yi Qinghan had just broken through to high-level high god. He had not even stabilized his cultivation yet. Both of them had sovereign artifacts, but the heaven-raising spear and the heaven-raising war spear were a single entity. Yi Qinghan was still trying to figure out the peak combat power of the Ten-Direction seal. Atlas had his own pride, a pride that could not be insulted. Apart from the 10 great combat constitutions, he would not give it to anyone of the same rank in the world for free, including half-step lords. Whoosh! The 10 directions seal spun at high speed and shot toward Sky Pillar. Whoosh! Sky Pillar hurled his battle spear, pitting his sovereign artifact against his sovereign artifact. At his current level, he could not participate in a battle between sovereign artifacts at all. The battle spear emitted the might of a sovereign, directly cutting through the sky and splitting the plane. Everything within 10,000 miles trembled as if an earthquake was coming. Thud. 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 Sky Pillar clenched his iron fists and charged toward Yi Qinghan with his bare hands. Yi Qinghan had no intention of fighting a fair battle. His goal today was to crush the heaven-raising battle constitution. Kill. Yi Qinghan tightened his grip on his longsword and stomped the ground with his foot. He was as fast as lightning as he viciously hacked at Sky Pillar. Sky Pillar was even faster. He tapped the air with the tip of his foot on the gravity craze and raised his leg to kick Yi Qinghan's head. Yi Qinghan swung his saber backwards, turning it from the bottom to the top. If this saber landed, it would definitely be able to split Sky Pillar in two. Sky Pillar had no choice but to withdraw his leg. He flipped his body and dodged the gravity craze. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan did not allow him to rest. He attacked more than 10 times consecutively, sealing Sky Pillar and forcing him to fly backward. I'll show you what the heaven-raising battle constitution is. Sky Pillar was furious. He grabbed the gravity craze in the air and tried to snatch the blade with his bare hands. Whoosh! Whoosh! Sky Pillar's hands kept changing hand seals. His figure flashed so fast that no one could track his movements. Boom! No matter how fast Yi Qinghan's blade moved, Sky Pillar could always track it. His left hand's 5 fingers gripped the tip of the gravity craze's blade tightly. His body stuck close to the gravity craze as he punched toward Yi Qinghan's throat. It was said that Qin Tian's powerful body was definitely not something from the chaotic era. The wind generated by Qin Tian's fist was enough to make Yi Qinghan's expression change. Even his powerful 5 elements Taoist body and dragon bloodline couldn't withstand Qin Tian's punch. Bang! Yi Qinghan's left hand grabbed the gravity craze while his right elbow struck Sky Pillar's iron fist. There was a crisp crack. Yi Qinghan's hard elbow bone actually tore apart. However, with the support of God power, Sky Pillar's pain was indescribable. Crack! Sky Pillar's fist bone broke. His perlicue cracked. Bang! 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 Sky Pillar ignored his injuries and kicked 3 times. They were all blocked by Yi Qinghan's iron leg. Their leg bones were nearly broken. Boom! Gravity craze was sent flying by the two's explosive attacks. At this moment, they were fighting barehanded. Both of them were close combat experts. They fought back and forth, completely ignoring their injuries. However, Yi Qinghan still had God power and the support of the God-breaking gloves. Sky Pillar was forced to retreat. Yi Qinghan was bathed in flames. He attacked Sky Pillar with the 5 elements Tao body. Only then did he manage to force Sky Pillar's body back. It was clear how terrifying his body was. On the other side, the dragon spirit had transformed into a chaos dragon, and its oppressive aura made all living beings within 10,000 miles dare not move. Ni Shuiyun did not have much divine power left, and now he had to face the chaos dragon. His blood and qi were stagnant, and he could not use the rest of his divine power. He was sent flying tens of thousands of miles away by the dragon spirit. His divine body exploded, and his blood drowned him. Cough cough cough. Ni Shueyun coughed out blood. His eyes were filled with blood. He had completely relied on his body to withstand the dragon spirit's peak attack. The dragon spirit now represented the giant dragon. If it was not for the fact that the dragon spirit could not use the chaos dragon's power, its tail could suppress a main god. Even the godhead could not escape. Unfortunately, the dragon spirit was too weak. Today is considered a failure. Escape. I will choose another opportunity next time. Ni Shueyun gritted his teeth and turned around. He did not use the last 10% of his strength to seize the dragon spirit's origin. Instead, he used it to protect himself. He was a smart person. Even if he obtained the dragon spirit's origin, he would not be able to enjoy it. It would only benefit others. The dragon spirit did not expect Ni Shueyun to escape after withstanding one attack. It was stunned. But the little golden crow would not be stunned. It turned around and pounced on Qing Tian. The two main god weapons in the sky tore through time and space, reversing yin and yang. Dark clouds covered the sky and caused a phenomenon. They were evenly matched, but the 10-direction seal was at a disadvantage. The golden crow joined the battle and spat out a mouthful of fire. Even Qing Tian had to be careful of the 16th grade fire origin. He was sent flying continuously. Then, the Pishio rushed out and attacked Qing Tian from all directions. No matter how strong his body was, he could not withstand such consumption. He was exhausted. He knew that there was no chance to kill Yi Qinghan now. Even if he used the battle spear to kill Yi Qinghan, he could not escape. Someone would definitely take the opportunity to kill him. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan, you are dead. I will cut off your head within 3 months. Qing Tian flew into the sky and took control of the heaven-raising battle spear. He left a ruthless sentence and directly disappeared into the void. Chapter 799. Although Sky Pillar had escaped, Yi Qinghan didn't feel the slightest bit of joy. He had finally experienced the terror of the so-called 10 great physiques. No wonder the second sorcerer god wanted to kill him. When Wentian matured, would he really be able to suppress him? Yi Qinghan remained silent for a moment. He retracted berserk and allowed the golden crow and the other divine beasts to enter his body. Looking at the helpless appearance of the dragon spirit, he recalled how Long Canghai wanted to create an opportunity for him to escape even though he knew he was going to die. It was hard for his Tao heart to accept letting her go now. Come with me. We can't stay in the Sisui plain any longer. I will send you to a safe place. Yi Qinghan spoke in a heavy voice. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and grabbed the dragon spirit. Their silhouettes flickered as they disappeared. The entire plain was in an uproar. Sky Pillar and Nishue Yun had joined forces to chase after Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit. Who would have thought that not only would they fail, they would even be injured? Was Yi Qinghan that strong? Tuoba Jiuxiao was dumbfounded. If he was in Yi Qinghan's shoes, he wouldn't be able to do this either. What did Yi Qinghan have? Daoist Jiushan also didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be able to escape with the dragon spirit. He couldn't imagine what method Yi Qinghan used to force the two experts to retreat. The secret behind this was probably only known by the few of them involved. Sky Pillar had a look of anger on his face. One of the 10 great physiques actually couldn't defeat Yi Qinghan. This time, everyone knew about it. Even the over-gods came to ask about the situation. The Sky Pillar had become a laughingstock. Ni Yun Duan's face was also ugly. Nishue Yun, who was known as the number 3 major power in the Sisui plain, had personally made a move. In the end, he was injured and had to flee. This was an unbelievable situation. No one would be able to accept it. Third brother, what happened? Could it be that Yi Qinghan is stronger than you? Ni Yun Duan's boss, the #1 expert in the Sisui Plain, looked no more than 50 years old. He had a thin body, but his body was filled with ice-cold sword aura. The inverse sword aura roared and was extremely frightening. He was called Reverse Bone Sword. This wasn't his real name, but the reverse bone sword in his hand had replaced his name. He had fought his whole life and no one could survive his reverse bone sword. Just like Li Feng, he was a legend of an era. Don't mention it. That bastard was too fast. It was as if his divine power was inexhaustible. He carried me and the Atlas battle body for 3 days and 3 nights. His spirit pet, the devouring soul parrot, had a foul mouth that made me want to kill it. In the end, he was so angry that he exhausted the divine power of the Atlas battle body and me. Who knew that Yi Qinghan would suddenly turn around and attack me? I was injured by the Chaos Dragon formed by the Dragon Spirit. With the help of his spirit pet and the 10 Direction Seal, Yi Qinghan could barely beat the Atlas battle body. His battle strength was a complete mess, but I still fell in his hands. Ni Shui Yun roared angrily. Reverse Bone Sword was trembling with anger. How could this person's battle strength be considered a complete mess? He exhausted the 2 top existences with his divine power and still managed to come back. You exhausted your divine power, but Yi Qinghan's battle strength wasn't exhausted? In the end, he was still able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Atlas battle body. How could this be considered a complete mess? Seal all of the Sisui Plains portals and checkpoints. Capture Yi Qinghan and the Dragon Spirit for me. Make no mistakes. Reverse Bone Sword growled. It was at this point that Ni Shui Yun's second brother, Lai Yun, walked over. He was a burly man who had been defeated by Reverse Bone Sword when he was young. The two of them had worked together to conquer this world, and their cultivation bases were unfathomable. They had only lost to Reverse Bone Sword once in their lives. Boss, I'm afraid the Chaos Dragon's essence won't be easy to get. It's a hot potato, and it'll drag Ni Shui Yun down with it. As long as I become a over-god, I can create the most powerful Ni Shui Yun in all of time. You'll be the strongest over-gods in the world. As the saying goes, a horse won't get fat without eating grass at night, and a man won't get rich without a windfall. If we really want to defy the heavens, we have to be qualified, and a paramount godhood is the only qualification we have. For a paramount godhood, I'm willing to give up Ni Shui Yun, Reverse Bone Sword said firmly. Very well. We'll split up and capture Yi Qinghan and Long Ling. Once we succeed, we'll gather at the same place and leave Sisui realm. Lai Yun nodded and decided to give up on Ni Shui Yun. He would participate in the battle between the 2 major factions and not help anyone. He would only take advantage of the situation and seize the Chaos Dragon's essence. The Wild Sect had just been brought back by Divine Instrument Sect, and the entire Sisui realm was in chaos. Powerhouses emerged one after another, and the world thought that the old monsters who had been hiding for thousands of years were dead. However, they had reappeared and attacked mercilessly. Even the half-step over-gods did not dare to act recklessly, for fear of offending Yi Gu, who had not appeared in 10,000 years. The over-gods were still suppressing themselves and had not made a move. Now that the over-gods were about to appear, chaos would ensue. Divine Instrument Sect and Divine Fire City were occupied by the Wild Sect, and they were very close to the inner sect of Divine Instrument Sect. This was also to make it easier for Taoist Jiu Shan to protect the Wild Sect. The Wild Sect had yet to understand what had happened, and they were already embroiled in the flames of war. Many people were prepared to capture the Wild Sect members to force Yi Qinghan to show himself. At the moment, Emperor Yi was summoned by Taoist Jiu Shan, and he was meeting him in Divine Instrument Palace. "You're Yi Qinghan's wife, Emperor Yi?" Taoist Jiu Shan asked in a dignified manner. Emperor Yi nodded, not understanding what was going on. Yi Qinghan has been tainted by karma, and I'm afraid it'll affect the wild sect. It's best if you don't go out or separate yourselves. If you need any resources, just tell me. I'll do my best to satisfy you, Taoist Zhou Shan said in a deep voice. Hu Jun had brought the wild sect members here, so he had to take on the responsibility of protecting them. If Yi Qinghan was a good-for-nothing, perhaps Taoist Zhou Shan would not care. However, Yi Qinghan was not a good-for-nothing. He had even escaped from under the noses of so many powerhouses. If the wild sect were to be harmed, Divine Instrument sect would have to take responsibility. Senior, what's wrong with my husband? What karma has he been tainted by? Emperor Yi was shocked. Even someone like Taoist Zhou Shan was so serious. It seemed that Yi Qinghan had caused a lot of trouble this time. Sigh, he has activated the origin of the Chaos Dragon. This is a good thing for the sorcerer tribe, but it's a disaster for him. The sorcerer tribe is still at a disadvantage, and the Master God will not protect him. He can only rely on himself now, Taoist Zhou Shan sighed. Emperor Yi returned to the territory occupied by the wild sect and told everyone about his current realm. Everyone tried to find joy in his misery and teased him, Brother Yi is a jinx. Wherever he goes, there's a gust of wind. Ha ha ha, now that you mention it, my father is right. I haven't seen him idle for so many years. Yi Chen Tian laughed. What do you know? This is called causing trouble. I'm so envious of my father. When he's escaping, he can still bring a beauty with him. I don't think he'll be lonely along the way. Yi Yun joked. Emperor Yi snorted and did not say much. He only restricted the juniors from leaving the inner sect without permission. Divine Instrument sect was a giant after all. They were also the representatives of the sorcerer tribe. Even the devilish would not dare to attack them. They were safe in Divine Flame City. Yi Qinghan was currently hiding deep within a mountain with the dragon spirit. He was trying to figure out a safe place to send the dragon spirit to. The path to the artifact sect must have been blocked, and going back would be like walking right into a trap. However, there was nowhere for them to set foot in this vast and boundless world. Chapter 800. White clouds, blue sky, deep mountains, and ferocious beasts roaring from time to time, shaking the mountains. Yi Qinghan stared at the mountains and rivers, remaining silent for a long time. Dragon Spirit did not dare to speak either. She had no experience traveling the world, and Shui Yuner had always been the one to take her everywhere. Once no one took her, she would be like a headless fly. I can't stay in the Sisui realm any longer. I'll rest for the day and leave at night. I'll go to the subsidiary realm of the Sisui realm, the Gaussian realm. This realm is connected to several small realms. I can attack and escape from it. Yi Qinghan looked at the star map and studied all the realms near the Sisui realm. Only the Gaussian realm was the most suitable, so he said to Dragon Spirit. I'll do as you say. Dragon Spirit had no objections. Yi Qinghan frowned. It would be difficult for her to take on the Chaos Dragon's origin, but since the Chaos Dragon's origin was attached to her, it must be God's will. He could not take it by force. Dragon Spirit leaned on Yi Qinghan and fell asleep. Yi Qinghan, on the other hand, was cultivating diligently, comprehending the arcane rules and origin. After recovering all his divine power, he took out the secret history of chaos and learned about the top 10 battle constitutions. The Atlas was the only other battle constitution besides the ethereal constitution, so he must find its fatal flaw. The Atlas had an unparalleled physical body. It could hold up the sky and subdue demons. It was highly compatible with the great path of heaven and earth, so there was almost no need to cultivate. When it reached adulthood, it could inherit all the secret skills of the first generation of the Atlas as well as the Chaos Force. There was a fundamental difference between the powers used by the people of this era and the powers used by the people of this era. They used Chaos Void power, which was clearly a level higher than divine power. Currently, all Qing Tian possessed was still a relatively low-level divine power. Once he became a half-step lord, it was very likely that it would evolve into Chaos Void power. By then, apart from lords, no one would be able to compete with him for glory. Ranked 9th was the Sun-Moon Battle Body. Once this battle body was used, the sun and moon would appear at the same time, and the world would submit to him. He could mobilize the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers, and borrow the power of the world to destroy his enemies. He could almost fight against the son of a paramount god and remain undefeated. This person was still part of the great demonic god's bloodline. The son of the Chaos Dragon was not like the Pai Xiu, but a real dragon. The Pai Xiu was just the son of the dragon, there was still a gap between them. Ranked 8th was the Celestial Treasure Battle Body, which was divided into 3 stages. The first was the primary stage, where the user could turn ordinary objects into treasures. For a genius like him, there was no need to worry about resources at all. He could raise a huge army by himself. The second stage was the intermediate stage, where the divine treasures in the world could not escape his control. All divine objects with spirituality would automatically attach themselves to him. When it came to the third stage, it was terrifying. He could directly control the qi and blood in the enemy's body, as well as all kinds of magic treasures and divine objects inside them. If the opponent couldn't even control their own godhead, how could they fight? This kind of existence was only ranked 8th, which showed how terrifying the top 7 battle bodies were. This celestial treasure battle body did not belong to the 2 camps. He did not need to rely on anyone. Both camps were fighting for him, but he did not need to beg anyone. He did not care about the 2 camps at all. He rarely participated in battles, which led to his ranking being very low. Yi Qinghan looked at this celestial treasure battle body and felt that this kind of person should not be ranked 8th. This was a cheat-like battle body, but the heavens were not jealous. This kind of person was the son of the heavens. How could his combat power be ranked 8th? It was not impossible for him to become a supreme god, because he did not lack treasures. His ability to prolong his life was probably even more terrifying than a supreme god. In addition, he did not participate in the battle back then. It was still unknown whether the first-generation celestial treasure battle body had died or not. Night fell. Dark clouds covered the sky as if a storm was coming. There was no light in the ink-like night sky. Yi Qinghan took the dragon spirit and began to move in the direction of the Gaoxian small plain. At the moment, every main city's gate in the Sisui plain was heavily guarded. Powerhouses were guarding them to prevent Yi Qinghan from escaping through the gate. The city gates were also tightly guarded. As soon as Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit appeared, they would definitely be discovered. Yi Qinghan disappeared without a trace. The heroes could only wait for Yi Qinghan to deliver himself to them. The half-step lords guarded their own gate and pass. The independent cultivators wandered outside the pass, waiting for Yi Qinghan to appear. However, for a month, Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit seemed to have disappeared. No one knew if they were dead or alive. Sky Pillar was furious. The threat he left behind back then was not empty talk. He really wanted to kill Yi Qinghan. Sky Pillar held a spear in his hand and wore golden armor. He appeared in the Upper Plains Divine Devil City and walked around. There were many half-step lords, but no one dared to provoke him. On a street, a white-haired old man dressed in shabby clothes had a broken bowl in front of him and a flag by his side. No one knew what era this flag was from. It was so shabby that the words on it could not be made out. However, if one looked closely, they could still make out the words on it. The Oracle. Let's go and have a look. I can divine the mysteries of heaven and earth and the 9 hells. It's unfathomable, but I can divine it. If it's not right, it's free. If it's right, I'll ask for a Lord Divine Core. The oracle stroked his white beard, looking like a transcendent being. However, his clothes, which were almost smelly, were really unflattering. Moreover, the price of divination was a little too high. He actually asked for a Lord Divine Core. Many people knew about the oracle and were already used to it. Old man, don't you think you're being too ruthless? There are only so many sovereign sparks in total. Apart from the innate 3,500 sovereign sparks, the remaining ones are the result of painstakingly cultivating for the sake of some monstrously talented geniuses. Even after all these years, there probably aren't even 100 of them. And yet, you're asking for one. Is this the end of the world? A middle-aged man asked in disdain. Naturally, someone will take the bait when I divine. Don't spout nonsense if you don't understand. Is it too much for me to ask for a Lord Divine Core? The oracle raised his brows and said disdainfully. Hee, if you have a customer, I'll kneel down and kowtow to you 3 times, the man mocked. Then watch carefully. I observed the sky last night and knew that an important guest would come today, so I'll send over a Lord Divine Core, the oracle said calmly. At that moment, Sky Pillar came over with his spear and said coldly, your divination is very accurate. I'm that important guest. As long as you help me divine a person's whereabouts, I'll give you a Lord Divine Core immediately. Swish. Sky Pillar waved his hand, and a sparkling, translucent godhood appeared, dazzling in the sunlight. This godhood was slightly larger than ordinary godhoods, and had different runes on it. Clearly, this was a Lord Divine Core. A Lord Divine Core that was rarely seen even in 10,000 years, and Sky Pillar was willing to use it in exchange for Yi Qinghan's whereabouts. Ha, the Sky Pillar battle body really is different. You're so generous. The oracle laughed loudly, squinting at Sky Pillar as he stared at the Lord Divine Core. Only his name, Yi Qinghan. He has a woman by his side, Dragon Spirit. Tell me where they are, and I'll give you this godhood. I guarantee that no one will dare to take it from you, Sky Pillar said in a low voice. No birth date, no horoscope, and no clothes. The oracle frowned. Let's see what you're capable of. Aren't you known for being able to divine the mysteries of heaven and earth, as well as the 9 serenities underworld? Sky Pillar said coldly. The oracle coughed dryly, then looked up into the sky and muttered something. No one knew what he was saying. The profound mysteries of order revolved around him, and space-time runes were changing. Although the burly man recognized the oracle, he had never seen him perform divination. Today was the first time, and he couldn't help but be surprised. This old man really did have some skill. The oracle frowned, occasionally surprised. After a while, he said in a low voice, it's not that I don't have skill, but that this person isn't part of the 5 elements. He stands outside of the laws, and even dragon spirits' whereabouts have been concealed. However, I've divined that they are in the Surishui plane. Sky Pillar didn't make things difficult for him. The oracle was able to divine Yi Qinghan's location in the Surishui plane with just his name. It seemed that he was quite capable, but what Sky Pillar needed was a specific location. Chapter 801. Sky Pillar looked at Master God Diviner and extended a finger, causing a drop of blood to appear in his palm. It was golden and emanated a powerful draconic aura. That's Yi Qinghan's blood. You should be able to calculate their exact location now, right? Sky Pillar asked coldly. When he had fought Yi Qinghan, both of them had bathed in a river of blood. It wasn't much for Sky Pillar to collect a drop of Yi Qinghan's blood. It was just ordinary blood, not blood essence. That's good. Fellow Daoist, take me to the Surishui plane. I'll be able to find Yi Qinghan's exact location in an hour. Master God Diviner stared at the godhood excitedly, convinced that he had to get his hands on it. Sky Pillar nodded and tossed the godhood to Master God Diviner. Don't disappoint me, or the consequences will be dire. Ha. Master God Diviner laughed heartily. How could I possibly dare to lie to the Sky Pillar battle body? Sky Pillar didn't say anything else and simply turned to leave. Master God Diviner looked at the burly man and grinned. Kid, remember to kowtow 3 times to me. Once I find Yi Qing Han and refine the godhood, I'll come and collect it. With that, Master God Diviner followed the Sky Pillar battle body into the Skyspan Realm River. At the same time, Yi Qing Han was leading the dragon spirit toward a minor plane, moving faster and faster to avoid crowds. He didn't even want to enter a small city. Suddenly, Yi Qing Han's heart began to race. It was as though something big was about to happen. At his level of cultivation, he had a certain premonition for danger. For him to have such a strong reaction meant that something dangerous was about to happen. Yi Qing Han's hair stood on end. He knew that something big was about to happen. Give me the Chaos Dragon's essence. Yi Qing Han extended his hand without hesitation. The dragon spirit was stunned. It looked at Yi Qing Han's cold eyes, and it didn't seem like he was joking. After a moment of hesitation, it forced out the Chaos Dragon's essence. A golden essence appeared in its palm, and it delivered it to Yi Qing Han. Yi Qing Han put away the Chaos Dragon's origin and said in a deep voice, I'll send you to the Netherworld plane. Without the Chaos Dragon's origin, no one will chase after you. You'll have to rely on yourself for the rest of your journey. After that, Yi Qing Han took out his teleportation token and tried to contact Nine Nether. However, Nine Nether's message talisman was still closed. He couldn't reach him at all. He could only settle for the next best thing, which was to contact Grand Monarch Shura. When Grand Monarch Shura learned that Yi Qing Han had a favor to ask of him, he went to Nine Serenities Palace in person. Nine Serenities didn't enter the Sisui realm in person. He sent Grand Monarch Shura there. As soon as he entered the Sisui realm, Grand Monarch Shura saw Yi Qing Han's anxious appearance and couldn't help but ask, Master is in seclusion and can't help you. He asked me to help you. What happened to you? It's not a big deal. Take care of her for me and bring her to the Netherworld plane. I'll pick her up later. Yi Qing Han said, then turned and rushed into the distance. He couldn't lose the Chaos Dragon's origin. Once Nine Serenities learned that Yi Qing Han had the Chaos Dragon's origin, he might even fight for it. At this time, he could only rely on himself. He couldn't trust anyone. As soon as Yi Qing Han fled, Sky Pillar appeared in the Sisui realm with Master Godly Mathematician. Master Godly Mathematician arranged the 8 trigrams and mobilized the profound mysteries. The spatial fluctuations became more and more obvious. Yi Qing Han's drop of blood began to erupt, affecting the aura of Yi Qing Han's main body hundreds of millions of miles away. The trajectory became clearer and clearer. Yi Qing Han could sense that someone was using his blood to track him. Unless he underwent blood transfusion rebirth, he couldn't escape the other party's tracking. Now, he could only speed up and run as far as possible to escape the other party's detection. After an incense stick's worth of time, Master Godly Mathematician withdrew his aura and said in a deep voice, the dragon spirit is dead, but the Chaos Dragon's origin is still with Yi Qing Han. However, Yi Qing Han has already approached the edge of the Sisui realm and rushed towards the border river. The dragon spirit is dead. Sky Pillar frowned. He wasn't worried that the Chaos Dragon's origin was with the dragon spirit. How much combat strength could a woman exert? However, with Yi Qing Han, there was no limit. The dragon spirit was indeed dead. Her soul had been taken away by Grand Monarch Shura to the Netherworld realm. The Chaos Dragon's origin had disappeared, so the experts wouldn't be interested in her. Their main target was Yi Qing Han. Yi Qing Han approached the Gao Xian realm. He took out a flow boat and forcibly crossed the border river, entering a small realm. Sky Pillar opened a realm gate and chased him to the Gao Xian realm. Master Godly Mathematician was also at his side. No matter how hard Yi Qing Han fled, he couldn't escape Sky Pillar's control. Find the specific location, Sky Pillar said coldly. Sky Pillar appeared in the sky above the Gao Xian realm like a god. He released his divine sense and controlled the entire realm. As long as Yi Qinghan appeared, there was no way he could escape. Master Godly Mathematician divined again, but this time, no matter how Yi Qinghan's drop of blood erupted, he couldn't sense the location of Yi Qinghan's main body. He couldn't help but be shocked. This had never happened before. How can this be? Who exactly is this person? Master Godly Mathematician was aghast. There were no more than 21 people who could break free from the primal chaos divine arts tracking. They were the paramount gods of the primal chaos era. Unless Yi Qinghan was the reincarnation of one of those 21 paramount gods. Interesting. He can evade my divine sense and hide from Master Godly Mathematician's divine art. Sky Pillar sneered and appeared in the palace of the Gao Xian realm's master. He looked at the master of the realm and said coldly, "Do you need me to introduce myself?" "Greetings, esteemed lord. I didn't know you were coming and didn't welcome you. Please forgive me." When the master of the realm saw Sky Pillar's aura, he knew that he was an irresistible existence. Although he didn't know how to address him, he didn't dare to offend him. "This seat is Sky Pillar. I'm here to capture a criminal. This person is a high-level high deity. His name is Yi Qinghan." Sky Pillar waved his hand and revealed Yi Qinghan's appearance. He then said, "Seal off the Gao Xian realm and search every house. Don't miss a single corner of the realm. If you see this person, report back to me immediately. I will reward you handsomely." The Gao Xian realm was immediately mobilized. The army was mobilized and began a carpet search. They spread from the city to the mountains and villages. The master of the realm had personally given the order. Even the villagers and hunters began to join the search. Yi Qinghan was currently sitting cross-legged in the depths of a mountain. He was refining the Chaos Dragon's quintessence. The blood in his body was stagnant, and there were no energy fluctuations at all. Thus, Master Godly Mathematician's divine art was ineffective. He couldn't find any trace of Yi Qinghan. The Chaos Dragon's quintessence used the Dragon's quintessence as the foundation and began to refine the true Chaos Dragon's quintessence. Its restrained aura was gradually spreading. The Startwining vine took root beside Yi Qinghan, and its lush green vines covered the sky and the sun. It covered the entire valley and concealed the dragon's aura. The dragon's quintessence was changing. Yi Qinghan didn't need to waste any time. He allowed the Chaos Dragon's quintessence to refine the quintessence. The patterns and internal space were all changing. The Chaos Dragon's quintessence began to derive the Chaos Dragon's secret technique. Dragon Nirvana. Chapter 802. The secret technique used by the Chaos Colossal Dragon was the Colossal Dragon's Nirvana technique. What was Nirvana? It was rebirth from the brink of death, transcending life and death, and reaching the highest realm, becoming immortal and indestructible. The Nirvana of the Colossal Dragon had a total of 6 realms. Back then, the Chaos Colossal Dragon had only cultivated to the 5th realm. Even until his death, he had not cultivated to the realm of immortality. The first stage was the giant dragon swallowing the sun and the moon. The second stage was the giant dragon splitting heaven and earth. The third stage was the giant dragon reversing yin and yang. The fourth stage was the giant dragon transforming life and death. The fifth stage was the giant dragon Nirvana. The sixth stage was the legendary giant dragon immortality. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan's blood essence began to flow slowly. No matter how hard he tried to suppress it, he could not suppress the Chaos Dragon's origin. Draconic blood roiled, completely transforming into Chaos Dragon essence blood. Its entire body was crimson yellow, and draconic scales covered the surface of its skin, forming the most terrifying defense. Even a sovereign weapon might not necessarily be able to break through it. Countless supreme-grade god crystals were taken out. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry to break through to the next realm. Instead, he started the most basic refinement of his physical body and opened up the space within his godhead. At first, Master God Diviner had been so angry that he had been humiliated that he couldn't find Yi Qinghan even after dozens of divinations. Now that he had given up, Yi Qinghan's blood began to flow again. Otherwise, he would have tried again to find Yi Qinghan. The master of the plane mobilized the power of the entire plane. A sea of people covered the sky and covered the earth, all in hopes of finding Yi Qinghan. After all, Ni Yunduan was the current boss of the Sisui plane. He soon learned that Sky High had brought a clairvoyant into the high fresh plane. Reverse Bone Sword and Lai Yun worked together to sneak into the high fresh plane. They didn't look for him in a high-profile manner. Instead, they hid in the dark and waited for the right time to compete with Sky High for the Chaos Dragon's origin. Reversing Bone Sword and Lai Yun arrived at a small inn and sat by the window in a private room. Once Yi Qinghan shows up, the Reversing Bone Sword said. You keep Heaven Pillar busy while I kill Yi Qinghan. Once I get his essence, I'll come back and kill Master God Diviner. He can't be left alive. Once I kill him, Heaven Pillar will leave, and I'll be free to fly. Boss, are we going to separate after this? Lai Yun asked in a low voice. When the time comes, both factions will come looking for me. Therefore, the less you know, the better. After you succeed, immediately go into seclusion and hide in the mountains for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, I will help you obtain the two most powerful essences, and even help you obtain the paramount godhood. The three of us brothers will not betray you even to the point of death. Reversing Bone Sword said resolutely. Boss, I wish you success. Lai Yun nodded. Deep in the mountains, Yi Qinghan's dragon godhead was finally completed after a day and a night. His hair was now golden, and his dragon scales had transformed into a suit of armor. The wind was biting cold, and dark clouds covered the sky above. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky and blasted into the mountains. Whoosh! The mountain exploded and split into pieces. Then, countless bolts of lightning descended at the same time, shocking the plain. Yi Qinghan was bathed in lightning. He clenched his fist and didn't dodge, allowing the lightning to cleanse his body. The 12 godhoods spun in his sea of consciousness, and the myriad laws of heaven and earth transformed into primal chaos energy that filled the godhoods. With the primal chaos dragon godhood, there was no energy that Yi Qinghan couldn't absorb. All energy came from the primal chaos. With the primal chaos dragon essence, his energy was inexhaustible. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's constitution was dozens of times stronger than Atlas's. If the 10 great physiques were glorious, then the primal chaos dragon essence was the legendary supreme constitution. Once the primal chaos dragon appeared, apart from a paramount god, who could contend against it? The primal chaos dragon essence in the dragon spirit could barely bring out 10,000th of its power. But in Yi Qinghan's body, it could cause the heavens to collapse and the earth to rend. Atlas frowned. He stomped on the ground and soared into the sky. His spear tore through the shackles and charged toward the mountain where Yi Qinghan was. The reverse bone sword's figure flashed and was 30% faster than Atlas. Lai Yun rose into the sky and charged toward Atlas. Boom! There was a deafening roar of thunder. Countless bolts of lightning tore through the darkness. Thousands of bolts of lightning struck at the same time, drowning the mountain range. Countless mountains were razed to the ground. Smoke rose and fire spread. Get lost! Atlas roared. His battle spear charged toward Lai Yun with a power that could destroy the heavens and the earth. It was unstoppable as it pressed toward Lai Yun. Boom! Lai Yun was extremely powerful. His sword pierced through the clouds, shattering Atlas's aura as they clashed. Their silhouettes flashed and crossed thousands of miles in an instant. It was difficult to tell who had the upper hand. It had to be said that Atlas was too powerful. As an advanced stage supreme god, he was able to fight a half-step lord. Moreover, he was the second in command of the reverse bone sword. Yet, he still had the upper hand. Apart from the combat constitution, who else could do this? The reverse bone sword held a sharp sword and quietly appeared outside the lightning. His eyes were like lightning, tearing through the shackles. He stared at Yi Qinghan in the depths. Yi Qinghan stretched out his 10 fingers and clenched his fists. He was baptized by the lightning. He could not help but sneer and think to himself, "Thank you for doing all this for me. As long as I seize the godhead and refine its origin, I can save a lot of time." Whoosh! The reverse bone sword was unsheathed. The sword aura pierced through the realm and charged toward Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes and swung his sword. His aura swept thousands of miles and lifted the shackles of the great path. Boom! With a sweep of the sword, nothing could stop it. Buzz! Buzz! An ear-piercing sound traveled thousands of miles. The Gao Xian realm fell into despair as if the end of the world had arrived. Yi Qinghan's 12 godheads poured out at the same time, instantly erupting with the might of a half-step lord. The sword gleam cut through the dimension and illuminated the mountains and rivers. It collided directly with the divine sword. Boom! Yi Qinghan's aura was irresistible. It sent the reverse bone sword flying. The collision of the two powerhouses' auras soared into the galaxy, flattening everything within thousands of miles. The reverse bone sword was dizzy from the impact. The web between his thumb and forefinger split open, and blood stained the blue sky. Impossible! The reverse bone sword was shocked. He was sent flying backward in the void and flipped continuously. He only managed to stabilize himself after flying thousands of miles. He looked at Yi Qinghan in horror. Hum! With the whistle of a sword, Yi Qinghan stepped forward with his sword held horizontally. His long golden hair fluttered, and his sword shone for thousands of miles. His aura soared into the clouds, stirring up a tragic melody. Nothing is impossible. I've been chased by you for so long. It's my turn now. Yi Qinghan's eyes were like lightning, piercing through the void. He raised his long sword and moved as fast as lightning. Tens of thousands of figures charged at the reverse bone sword from all directions. Whoosh! 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 When one's speed reached its peak, the enemy could not resist. The void shattered, and countless sword gleams were physical attacks. The reverse bone sword did not know which attack was Yi Qinghan's main bodies. He could only unleash all his strength and shatter all the sword gleams at all costs. In that instant, 30% of his combat strength had been consumed. Bang! Yi Qinghan's main body attacked from above. His sword energy cut through the dimension and slammed into the reverse bone sword, smashing him into the ground. A huge crater appeared in the ground. A shrill scream alerted Qin Tian and Lai Yun in the distance. The two gave up on fighting and turned to look at Yi Qinghan. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Chapter 803. Yi Qinghan stood on the reversing bone sword and wielded berserk. The scene was different from what everyone had imagined. Lai Yun and Sky Pillar stopped fighting. He controls the Chaos Dragon's origin. How long has it been? Sky Pillar was furious. He was the inheritor of the Sky Pillar battle constitution. He had cultivated for thousands of years, but he could not even bring out 1/10 of his battle constitution's power. How could Yi Qinghan control the Chaos Dragon's origin in just half a month? Boss! Lai Yun was shocked. Only he, who had followed Yi Qinghan for hundreds of thousands of years, knew how strong the reversing bone sword was. He did not dare to say that he was unparalleled among his peers, but apart from his battle constitution, he was definitely one of the strongest among his peers. Yet, he could not withstand a single strike from Yi Qinghan. Just how strong was Yi Qinghan now? Boom! Yi Qinghan looked down on everyone. His golden hair pierced through the void, and his foot crushed mountains and rivers. It was as if the entire Gao Xian realm was trembling. Those who had been looking for Yi Qinghan now realized how lucky they were that they had not found Yi Qinghan yet. Sky Pillar, you can escape once, but you can't escape a second time. Yi Qinghan coldly stared at Sky Pillar. It was as if a sharp weapon had pierced through his defenses, making his hair stand on end. Sky Pillar retreated with his spear. It was not that he was not strong enough, but that the Chaos Dragon's origin was one level stronger than the 10 battle constitutions. No matter how much Yi Qinghan controlled and what the side effects of forcibly absorbing the Chaos Dragon's origin were, he was no match for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan, you're courting death. All over gods have their own legacies. Anyone who tries to forcibly steal the essence of a primal Chaos Dragon will only end up dead. They will suffer a backlash from the essence of the primal Chaos Dragon. If I were you, I would expel the essence of the primal Chaos Dragon, Skypillar warned coldly. Let's talk after I kill you. Yi Qinghan raised his blade and stomped on the ground. With a horizontal slash, space and time were torn apart. The Gao Xian realm was actually shattered by this slash. Boom! A deep gully stretched for thousands of miles. There was no end in sight, and no beginning in sight. How could Qing Tian dare to take it head-on? He flew backward and rolled several hundred meters on the ground, barely dodging Yi Qinghan's blade. He then turned around and fled, tearing through the void. His figure flashed past at an extremely fast speed. Ha ha ha. Yi Qinghan, just you wait for the backlash from the great dragon's essence. You killed the dragon's spirit and ended a powerful successor of the shaman tribe. How ignorant, but I will thank you. Qing Tian laughed loudly, and the moment he disappeared, he left behind a sentence. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan cleaved through the air with his saber, ignoring all illusions. It was as if he could see the true body of Qing Tian. The saber radiance illuminated the sky and penetrated into the different space. Boom! The saber struck Qing Tian's back, almost snapping Qing Tian in half. Puff! Qing Tian spurted out blood and his face turned pale. He used a forbidden technique and disappeared without a trace. Yi Qinghan turned around and looked at Lai Yun. He found that not only did he not run away, but he also ran to where the reverse bone sword was. He carried the sword out of the deep pit and looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. Just as he was about to draw his saber and kill Lai Yun, a tearing pain came from his head, as if his soul was being destroyed by the great dragon's essence. Ah! Yi Qinghan held his head and screamed. Only then did he know that Qing Tian was telling the truth. The over-gods all had their own successors, and whoever dared to steal their successors would suffer from the crazy backlash from the chaos origin. This was an unspoken curse of the over-gods. Everyone knew that the successors of the over-gods could be killed, but they could not steal their origins. Otherwise, they would suffer from the backlash. Don't use the power of the Chaos Dragon for now. Calm down. It's best if you don't even use your divine power, the divine bird suddenly said. Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and used the soul-suppressing orb to maintain his last bit of consciousness. He stared coldly at Lai Yun and said, "Get lost. Don't challenge my bottom line." Lai Yun understood Qing Tian's last sentence. He thought that it was just to scare Yi Qinghan, but he did not expect it to be true. He did not care about the Chaos Dragon's essence. There was no benefit in fighting for it now. He carried the reverse bone sword and fled toward the water surface. Boom! Yi Qinghan fell to his knees and hugged Quang Zhong while enduring the tearing pain in his soul. The soul-suppressing orb could only help a little. If it were not for the soul-suppressing orb, the backlash from the Chaos Dragon's essence would have killed him instantly. Huff, 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 Yi Qinghan breathed heavily. His eyes were bleeding golden blood. His heart was beating like thunder, and half of the high fresh plane could hear it. The master of the plane watched from afar but did not dare to approach. Is there really a backlash from the Chaos Dragon's essence? Yi Qinghan asked in a hoarse voice. The divine bird ran out. After thinking for a long time, it shook its head and said, when it comes to matters involving the over-gods, no one except those with battle constitutions knows. If there's no other way, just expel the Chaos Dragon's essence. I can't expel it. At least until I reach the over-god level, I won't be able to separate the essence. Yi Qinghan's voice changed. His soul was in pain. His godhead felt like it was being crushed by a great force and was about to shatter. Damn it! How can this Chaos Dragon's essence not even distinguish between good and bad? The divine bird was anxious. It had followed Yi Qinghan for so long and had grown from a mortal to a high-level over-god. Was it going to die at the hands of the Chaos Dragon's essence? Pixiu, take me away first. Yi Qinghan did not dare to use any divine power to stimulate the Chaos Dragon's essence. He had to leave this place and find a safe place first. The Pixiu rushed out of his body and turned into its true form. It carried Yi Qinghan and tore through the void and left. Qing Tian thought that as long as the Chaos Dragon's essence attacked, Yi Qinghan would definitely die. Therefore, he publicly announced the death of Yi Qinghan and the dragon spirit, causing a huge uproar. This was especially true for the sorcerer tribe. The inheritor of the Chaos Dragon's essence had died. This was a loss that could not be recovered. Taoist Jiu Shan did not believe it and personally went to Emperor Yi to ask. Emperor Yi held Yi Qinghan's life token and found that the light of the life token was fluctuating. There were obvious cracks on it, indicating that Yi Qinghan was in a very dangerous situation. I'm going out. Listen to Elder Gu Qingyu's orders. Before I return, no one is allowed to leave the inner sect. Emperor Yi only had Yi Qinghan's life token with him. However, he left his own life token with Yi Qinghan. He secretly told him that if his life token broke, it would mean that Yi Qinghan was dead. He told him to bring the insane sect back to the endless plains. Emperor Yi left the Sisui plain and went to the high fresh plain first. His soul was highly focused as he tried to sense Yi Qinghan's location. Their souls were connected and ignored the restrictions of time and space. No matter where Yi Qinghan was, Emperor Yi could clearly sense him. No matter how far away he was, he could vaguely sense him. Emperor Yi pursued the Pixiu closely, unwilling to give up. Half a year later, the life token in Emperor Ye's hand dimmed completely. However, it was not completely broken. This meant that Yi Qinghan had fallen into a coma and was only half a step away from death. Emperor Yi was shocked. He sped up and finally caught up with the Pixiu at the edge of the universe. Chapter 804. Yi Qinghan disappeared as if he was really dead. 1 year, 2 years, there was no news of him. Gradually, everyone forgot about him. Only the people in the inner sect knew that as long as Emperor Ye's life tablet was not broken, Yi Qinghan was not dead. Once Yi Qinghan died, Emperor Yi would definitely follow. This was the undying relationship between them. After the Sisui realm was dead silent, the appearance of a figure completely disrupted the world's understanding. That was Li Feng. He did not know where he had been all these years. He only knew that when he returned to the mythical realm to look for Yi Qinghan, he learned that Yi Qinghan had waited for 3 years before leaving the realm and entering the Sisui realm. Hence, he came with a sword. His arrival reminded people of Yi Qinghan. When he learned that Yi Qinghan had died, his eyebrows twitched. He did not say a word and directly went to find Qing Tian, who was ranked 10th. 9 battles Tianya Peak, a battlefield of death in the Sisui realm. The two were separated by 1,000 feet. One held a sword, the other a spear. They were as cold as ice and expressionless. "Did you kill Yi Qinghan?" Li Feng asked. "Yes, you want to avenge him?" Qing Tian looked at Li Feng with disdain. How could a mortal body that was not even comparable to Yi Qinghan fight with him? "No, I don't have the identity to avenge him. He just owes me a battle. Since you can kill him, then take this battle for him." Li Feng unsheathed his sword. The sword radiance shot up and shattered the 9 heavens, alarming the strong people in the Sisui realm. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Many well-known strong people arrived. "Reverse bone sword, Lai Yun, Taoist Jiu Shan Mo Sha, with just you?" Qing Tian asked disdainfully. "With the sword in my hand, the one who will kill you is Li Feng." Li Feng's big hand trembled. A 3-foot breeze shattered the void. It was as if everything had turned into a sword and everything was controlled by his sword aura. Whoosh! Li Feng made his move. He was only a silhouette, but it was impossible to guard against him. He was so fast that he was a demon. That slash was as easy and elegant as when he had killed hundreds of divine beasts of the Xuanzong sect. At that moment, Qing Tian, who was known as one of the 10 chaotic war constitution, was swaying in the rain of blood like those divine beasts. He was unable to struggle and could be annihilated by the storm at any time. Boom! The sword hit Atlas's spear, but it didn't break. It relied on the invincible sword Qi to break through the spear's defense and into Atlas's chest. Bang! Puff! Qing Tian was sent flying, coughing up blood. The spear in his hand erupted with power, blocking Li Feng's sword for him. His powerful counterattack had actually broken Li Feng's sword. The broken sword pierced the sky. Li Feng was sent flying. He somersaulted and landed firmly where he was. His hair fluttered slightly as if he had not moved at all. The people standing outside inhaled sharply and looked at Li Feng in disbelief. Although Qing Tian was only a supreme god, his combat strength was on par with a half-step lord. He might not be a match for Taoist Jiushan, but he was definitely on par with a top-notch half-step lord. However, in Li Feng's hands, he could only be sent flying by the lord weapon in his hand. He was even pierced by the sword Qi and was bleeding profusely. Impossible. Which combat constitution do you have? Qing Tian was furious. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He felt that he had been fooled. What combat constitution? I don't understand. All I know is that the sword in my hand is my will. Li Feng put away the sword in his hand right away. He formed hand seals with both hands and mobilized 7 godheads. The light was so dazzling that it was difficult to open one's eyes. The 7 godheads transformed into a divine sword. Divine light flowed, causing the half-step lord to stumble 3 steps back. What kind of damned secret technique is this? I've never seen anyone use a godhead as a sword. Doesn't he need to hide his soul in his godhead? Perhaps he's confident that no one can block his sword, so he doesn't need to defend himself at all. A few half-step lords outside discussed in shock. Qing Tian's face was ashen. The top 10 combat constitutions were a ranking personally arranged by the supreme gods. Apart from the supreme gods, the combat constitutions were the most powerful. He had lost to Yi Qinghan because he had forcefully plundered the Chaos Dragon's origin. However, he had lost to Li Feng because he would make the Atlas combat constitution despise him. Perhaps, everyone would despise him for tarnishing the Atlas combat constitution. I'll let you experience what a Atlas combat constitution is. Whoosh, Qing Tian soared into the sky with his godly armor and spear. He was like a Atlas combat god, standing tall. He was bathed in divine light like a blinding sun. All living beings in the entire realm could see him just by looking up. Instead of relying on a combat constitution, I might as well rely on myself. Li Feng was calm. He held the Godhead longsword in his hand and crushed the ground with his foot. His figure rose abruptly and charged directly at the Atlas combat constitution that was like a scorching sun. Boom! 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 The two of them fought fiercely at extreme speeds. Despite relying on his chief god weapon, Qing Tian could only barely fight to a draw with Li Feng. He might even lose by a hair's breadth. This shocked everyone. For the first time, people began to question the Supreme God's words and combat constitutions. Was it because Qing Tian had not unleashed his Atlas combat constitution, or was Li Feng already so monstrous that he could defy the heavens? This kid is simply... Taoist Master Jiushan's hands trembled slightly. He did not know how to describe Li Feng. He was the most powerful being of the same rank that he had ever seen. If he were given a chief god weapon, Li Feng could definitely sweep through everything. That's impossible. How can he possibly have a mortal body? Demon Fiend was in disbelief. A murderous look appeared in his eyes. Such an existence had already broken tradition. He was an existence that could not be controlled. He must be killed. Yi Qinghan is dead, and here comes another monstrous genius. What the hell is this mythical realm? Why are there so many monstrous geniuses? Everyone cried out in alarm. After the two of them fought for an hour, Qing Tian was sent flying by Li Feng's kick. His neck was struck, and his head crashed into the ground. Boom! The spear pierced through the ground. Before Qing Tian could stabilize himself, Li Feng stabbed at him again. This time, the sword contained a will that could split the heavens. It could not be blocked by anyone. Boom! Qing Tian's body twisted, and he hid behind the Atlas war spear. He used the war spear to block the sword, but he was sent flying by Li Feng's imposing aura. His feet slammed into the ground, causing rocks to shatter, but he still could not stop the situation. How did Yi Qinghan die? I don't believe that you can kill him, Li Feng coldly asked as he continued to force Qing Tian back. He was devoured by the Chaos Dragon's essence, the Overgod's curse. Anyone who steals the Overgod's essence will die from the destruction of their soul. Qing Tian gritted his teeth. He did not want to reply to Li Feng, but when he was stared at by Li Feng's deep eyes, he could not help but reply. Li Feng twisted his waist, and the God's Park sword in his hand burst out again. He instantly sent Qing Tian flying and withdrew his God's Park. His black robe fluttered, and he did not seem tired at all. He did not shed a single drop of blood while fighting Atlas War Physique. Such combat strength was beyond imagination. Demon Fiend wanted to attack, but when he met Li Feng's eyes, he shrank back. Taoist Jiu Shan's eyes flashed. Once such a person joined the sorcerer tribe and cultivated to the Overgod realm, his future would be limitless. He would definitely become an existence that could control the war. Fellow Taoist, I'm the sect master of the Divine Weapon sect. If you don't mind, I'm willing to forge a divine sword for you. I guarantee that you'll be satisfied. Taoist Jiu Shan said in a deep voice. Chapter 805. Lord Jiu Shan tried to rope him in directly without hiding anything. Demon Fiend immediately cupped his fists when he heard that. Fellow cultivator, I'm Demon Fiend. If you don't mind, you can follow me to the great demon god's base camp. I guarantee that you'll obtain a lord weapon. Li Feng looked at the two of them coldly. He was slightly influenced by Yi Qinghan and had been betrayed twice by the Shangqing exalted god. He knew that no one in the world could be trusted, only the sword in his hand. I'm not interested. I'll forge my own sword, Li Feng rejected coldly and turned to leave right away. Wherever he passed, the half-step lords automatically gave way. Li Feng appeared and shocked everyone with his battle. Then, he disappeared like a flash of fireworks. Yi Qinghan had left under everyone's watchful eyes and then disappeared. according to Qing Tian, he was dead. As for Li Feng, as long as the lords did not attack, they could not kill him. Peace returned to the Sisui realm once again. Li Feng was like a celestial treasure combat body. He stood outside the rules and did not take sides. He was like a shrimp in the river. No one cared about him, and he could not do anything. Qing Tian fell silent. He cultivated in peace, comprehended the combat body inheritance, and swore to kill Li Feng. 30 years later, Gu Qingyu could not take it anymore. Yi Qinghan disappeared without a trace, and Emperor Yi was nowhere to be found. It was impossible to hide in the inner sect forever. Gu Qingyu's cultivation base had reached a bottleneck, and he needed to fight to the death to break through. Therefore, he specifically sought out half-step lords. He suppressed 2 half-step lords consecutively. He attacked ruthlessly, coldly, and arrogantly. His solitary sword Dao instantly became a household name, shocking the world. Another genius appeared and was intercepted by Demon Fiend. In the end, Taoist Jiu Shan appeared, and the 2 of them joined forces. Of the 3 half-step lords that Demon Fiend had brought with him, 2 were killed and 1 was severely injured. In the end, Demon Fiend had no choice but to retreat with the severely injured half-step lord. Gu Qingyu was now ranked among the top powerhouses, standing shoulder to shoulder with Li Feng. He had single-handedly fought 3 half-step lords, resulting in 2 deaths and 1 severe injury. Apart from Li Feng and the others, there was no one else among the younger generation who could do such a thing. The juniors of the inner sect walked out one by one. Yi Qingtian had fought on behalf of his father, but he did not explain that Yi Qinghan was still alive. Now that Yi Qinghan had disappeared, it was the best time for him to cultivate. Once the world knew that he was still alive, it was likely that all the main gods in the universe would come out to find him. Void God Yi Qinghan was very honest and introverted. He was more like Yi Qinghan, especially in terms of appearance. He was like a copy of Yi Qinghan. His battle prowess had reached great perfection, and he was invincible. It even gave people the illusion that he was Yi Qinghan in disguise. Among the inner sect juniors, these 2 were not the only powerful ones. Lin Wuxian and Di Longtian were the most powerful, and they had already surpassed some of the older generation. The older generation would not interfere in the younger generation's battles. However, because of Yi Qinghan, Demon Fiend had specifically targeted the insane sect, sending out a large number of powerhouses to kill the insane sect's juniors. If it were not for the fact that the insane sect's inner sect members were not far from each other and could support each other, they might have lost half of their members. Even when they supported each other, a few of them were severely injured. Time flew by, and 100 years passed. Another powerhouse walked out of the mythical realm and shocked the lords. It was the other pupil lineage. That lonely figure was thin and bleak. At that moment, she no longer used camouflage to hide her face. She was dressed in a purple robe and had a slender figure. She was about 1.75 meters tall. If one did not look at her eyes, her devilishly beautiful face was comparable to any woman's. However, her eyes were extremely frightening. One of them was purple, while the other had evolved into a rainbow color. She had not used her full strength yet, and anyone who looked into her eyes would be immediately mesmerized. Her appearance instantly alarmed the top existences of both camps. The 5th-ranked Guanwu battle form and the 6th-ranked Black Tiger battle form were much more terrifying than the Atlas battle form. The 2 of them were as graceful as jade and had elegant temperaments. They fought a world-shaking battle right after they appeared, destroying mountains and rivers. No one dared to interfere. Their combat strength surpassed that of Li Feng and also that of Yi Qinghan at that time. Even half-step lords had to give in. Whether it was Demon Fiend or Taoist Jiushan, if they were not in a hurry to see the other pupil lineage, they would definitely fight to the death. Greetings, Zixin. May I know your name, fairy? The Guanwu battle form was clad in Guanwu battle armor that shone with a rainbow light. He held a long spear in his hand, looking awe-inspiring. The other pupil lineage was only passed down through the bloodline. It would never appear in an outsider's body. The first other pupil lineage was called the Violet Emperor. In name, he was a lord, but in reality, he was the 21st supreme god. This person's combat strength was unfathomable. When his other pupil lineage was fully unleashed, the demon god and sorcerer god could not resist. However, the Violet Emperor was not suited for battle. Those eyes consumed a terrifying amount of life force essence, especially when used against existences like the demon god and sorcerer god. The Violet Emperor did not like war, so he had always kept a low profile and called himself a lord. He did not want to participate in that kind of boring war. Unfortunately, he could not escape his fate in the end. Before he died, he roared and told the world that the people of both camps would not have a good ending. Whether it was the demon god or the sorcerer god, they were both selfish people. The other pupil lineage had never been broken, but they had never appeared. No one knew why this Zixian had appeared. The other pupil lineage person looked at the two silently and whispered, "The ancestral teachings are not to participate in the affairs of the two camps. Leave. Don't force me to fight. Fairy, this time I came purely for personal matters. You don't need to care about my black tiger battle body. Just call me Tiger Liang." The black tiger battle body Liang Tiger cupped his fists. "I have no relationship with you. I came to the Sisui Plain to find an old friend and ask him for help. Leave. My clan's lineage has never been broken. I know very well what was right and wrong in the past. My clan's great ancestor died because of your battle. If you continue to bother my clan, don't blame me for being impolite," the other pupil lineage woman said coldly. Guan Wu smiled and said awkwardly, "I just want to know your name. If you don't want to be disturbed, I won't offend you. However, if you want to find someone, I can still help." Tiger Liang nodded repeatedly, indicating that he was willing to help. The other pupil lineage person had never told anyone her name. Her clan members, including Yi Qinghan, called her Zixian. Just like her name, she was like an immortal or a god. She was incomparably ethereal and could not be disrespected. "I'm looking for Yi Qinghan. As for my name, you don't need to know it. After today, you won't have the chance to meet again," Zixian said calmly. Yi Qinghan. The two were stunned and looked at each other. Guan Wu smiled bitterly. "This kid stole the Chaos Dragon's origin. You are an other pupil lineage person, so you should know the consequences of stealing the supreme origin." Thud, 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 Zixian's expression changed. She took several steps back, sadness in her eyes. "Ah. I know. Do you know where he's buried?" Zixian asked with a sigh after learning about Yi Qinghan. According to Sky Pillar, the master of the Gaoxian Plain, and Lai Yun, who were present at the time, Yi Qinghan suffered a backlash from the origin after he fought with Sky Pillar. In the end, he was forced to leave the Gaoxian Plain. "As for where he died, we don't know," Tiger Liang said in a low voice. Gaoxian Plain. Zixian frowned and stepped directly into the depths of the Sisui Plain. Chapter 806. At the edge of the universe, in the depths of the endless mountain range, the mountains rose and fell, and the water danced. It was a rare moment of tranquility. A wisp of heavenly music came from an unknown origin, and no one knew where it ended. It was continuous in this mountain range. In a valley, a figure was lying flat in the air. His golden hair hung down, and his hands were placed on his lower abdomen. His battle robe was piercingly cold, as if he had been exhausted for 10,000 years and was sleeping. The Pai Xiu squatted at the entrance of the valley, looking around vigilantly. It emitted a powerful aura, and did not allow any beasts to approach. With the Pai Xiu around, that person was naturally Yi Qinghan. Emperor Yi sat cross-legged in the center of the valley. His 10 fingers were dripping with blood. No one knew how long he had been playing. The zither music calmed one's heart and focused one's mind. Even the surrounding mountain winds were no longer howling. The eternal forest swayed along with the music in the valley. Yi Qinghan was already unconscious. He was muddle-headed. He could only hear the heavenly music calling him. His desire to live was beyond common sense. He was fighting for life with the Chaos Dragon's origin. He had been in a stalemate in this valley for 100 years, forcibly taking his life. Under the influence of the heavenly music, the Chaos Dragon's origin actually delayed the destruction of Yi Qinghan's soul. It even took the initiative to condense, showing signs of leaving Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. In the sea of consciousness, the Chaos Dragon's godhood patterns were quietly changing. The golden color was also transforming, and the dragon godhood's appearance was restored. Yi Qinghan's fingertip moved quietly, but it did not escape Emperor Ye's eyes. He could not help but cry. For 100 years, Yi Qinghan had been lying in the air. Except for his hair and clothes, he did not move. Even his heart did not beat. That gentle movement of his fingertip actually defeated Emperor Ye's strong heart. The divine bird moved up and down. During these 100 years, it felt that Yi Qinghan was hopeless. How could a human strength be compared to the origin of the supreme god? However, Yi Qinghan's desire to live was unbelievably strong. Perhaps Emperor Ye's music was helping him, making him want to live. However, the power of the two of them together was too terrifying. Little Master, I can feel Master's aura rising. The divine bird said excitedly. Emperor Yi gritted his teeth and nodded. He gently stroked the human Emperor Guqin, and drops of essence blood stained the strings of the Guqin red. Even the body of the Guqin was dyed red. Whoosh! A wisp of golden light shot out of Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness and shot straight into Emperor Ye's sea of consciousness. It was the Chaos Dragon's origin. It did not acknowledge Yi Qinghan and even wanted to destroy him, but after 100 years of influence from the zither music, it actually acknowledged Emperor Ye's pure heart. The moment the Chaos Colossal Dragon essence entered his sea of consciousness, it automatically formed the Chaos Colossal Dragon Divine Spark. No, this divine spark was different from Yi Qinghan's Colossal Dragon Divine Spark from the very beginning. Its veins were filled with the most profound mysteries, and they transformed Emperor Ye's body, sea of consciousness, and bloodline. A supreme divine spark. According to legend, there were only 21 supreme divine sparks in the world, and they had long disappeared from the galaxy. But now, one had quietly appeared. The supreme divine spark rapidly formed, draining Emperor Yi of his divine power. Winds and clouds surged, and the divine aura formed a huge vortex. The vortex's point of convergence was the mountain range, and it madly rushed into Emperor Ye's body. The sound of the zither came to an abrupt stop. Emperor Yi was stunned. He felt the Chaos Dragon essence and the legendary supreme divine spark in his sea of consciousness, and he found it hard to accept. This Chaos Dragon essence had almost destroyed Yi Qinghan, and after 100 years of stalemate, it actually ran into his sea of consciousness, took the initiative to settle down, and even condensed a supreme divine spark. Without the torment of the Chaos Dragon essence, Yi Qinghan slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was filled with vicissitudes, as if he had lived through hundreds of millions of years. His eyes pierced through the void, and there was nothing blocking them. Looking up at the terrifying vortex formed by the divine aura, he hoarsely muttered to himself, "Is this the legendary land of solitary nothingness, the path of reincarnation?" Yi Qinghan wasn't even sure if he was still alive. These 100 years had been torturous. If his will had been slightly weaker, he would have died. There was no way he could have survived. The supreme divine spark's torment could destroy his soul with just a breath. If it weren't for Emperor Yi constantly reminding him, he wouldn't have been able to hold on for more than 100 years. "Master, you didn't die. Your Chaos Dragon essence ran into the little Master's sea of consciousness," the divine bird shouted. Yi Qinghan was startled awake. He suddenly fell to the ground. Looking at Emperor Ye's dazed eyes, he panicked and his nose tingled. Looking at Emperor Ye's scattered white hair, he felt extremely guilty. He was clearly the one who wanted to protect this thin and weak child, but every time, it was her who had been protecting him, desperately protecting him. Yi Qinghan's entire body trembled. He slowly knelt before Emperor Yi, clenching his slender fingers. Looking at the scratches on them, his heart ached so much that he couldn't breathe. His resolute Tao heart fiercely trembled, twisting with pain. 2 streams of tears flowed uncontrollably from his deep eyes. Imperial son, I'm sorry. I was actually so useless. Yi Qinghan deeply blamed himself. These 100 years hadn't been easy for him. It had been very painful. But he knew that Emperor Yi had it even worse. He had played the zither non-stop until his hands were almost worn out, but he had never once frowned. This feeling of gratitude was irreplaceable. Emperor Yi slowly woke up. Looking at Yi Qinghan's frail appearance, he stopped observing the Chaos Dragon essence and Supreme Divine Spark. He leaned over Yi Qinghan's chest and said softly, Master, how could you be useless? You are the most powerful hero in my heart. That will never change. Yi Qinghan was speechless. He felt ashamed of Emperor Ye's praise. In his entire life, he had either led Emperor Yi into battle or brought her to avoid calamities. He had never given her a peaceful life. The vortex of divine aura surrounded the two of them and surged madly into their bodies, transforming their physical bodies. The blood stain on Emperor Ye's fingertip disappeared, and divine light flowed through his fingertip. The space inside the Supreme Godhead was like a universe, boundless and boundless. No matter how much divine aura was absorbed or how much divine power was refined, it couldn't be filled. The heaven and earth phenomena here were world-shaking. Even on the other side of the universe, one could see the wind and clouds surging in the sky above the borderlands. Even the Sisui level and the upper plane's divine spiritual energy were being sucked away. What's going on? The first sovereign had appeared. He was so powerful that he could twist time and space and shatter the void, but he couldn't reverse the flow of divine energy. Yi Fei, is this caused by someone from the sorcerer's camp? Several figures descended. They were all sovereigns, and they were all alarmed by the restless heavens and earth. The great demonic god's bloodline couldn't help but be shocked. If it wasn't one of their people who had caused the phenomena, then it could be someone from the sorcerer's tribe. Once an undefeatable existence appeared among the sorcerer's descendants, this battle would end prematurely. The sovereign called Yi Fei was also shocked. He looked at the 3 sovereigns in front of him in disbelief and shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. The winds and clouds in the universe were stirring, and no one knew where the source of the phenomena was. Even the sovereigns couldn't find a trace. The clairvoyant's divination was directly blasted into nothingness by a bolt of heavenly lightning. The mysteries of heaven were unfathomable, and those who offended heavens would die. The heavens were overturned. There was only one kind of person who could make the clairvoyant unfathomable, a sovereign god. The supreme divine spark had appeared. Which powerful sovereign god was it? The sovereigns on both sides were trembling, afraid that it was someone from the other side. The sovereign god was already dead, and his battle constitution hadn't even been fully activated. If a sovereign god suddenly appeared, he could crush the sovereigns with a single slap. Chapter 807. In the depths of God's End Mountain, the second sorcerer god suddenly sat up from his coffin. Tears streamed down his face as he roared, I can feel Father God's aura. No, it's not Father God's aura, it's the aura of the Chaos Dragon. The primal Chaos Overgods all carried the aura of the primal Chaos origin. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were born from the same bloodline and were brothers. It was just that they had their own goals and were fighting against each other. In the distant burial ground of the great demonic god, in a misty demonic palace, 3 super experts awakened at the same time. They were as old as the sun, moon, and stars. It was unknown what era they were from, but they had actually survived until now by sealing themselves. The primal chaos over God spark has appeared. Which over God has appeared in advance? The 3 of them were uncertain. They felt that this era had completely fallen into chaos. Some people who shouldn't have appeared had all appeared. This was actually different from the prophecy of the past. The over-God's prophecy was actually wrong. Demonic tiger deity, come and see this seat. The one in the middle of the 3 occupied the main hall. He had a majestic aura, and his eyes could make people tremble in fear. Even the over-gods didn't dare to disobey his will. Demonic tiger greets Lord Yushin. A black figure appeared in the main hall. He had a sturdy body and was as black as charcoal. His cultivation was actually that of an over-god, and he was also a supreme existence among the over-gods. His words revealed the identity of this powerful over-god. Yushin of the Primal Chaos Era. He might not have been considered much in the Primal Chaos Era, but his identity was extraordinary. It was inconceivable that he had survived until now. Yushin was the last direct disciple of the first-generation ethereal physique. He had received all of the inheritance. When the Primal Chaos Era ended, he had just reached adulthood. The first-generation ethereal physique had died and passed all of its profound to him. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was the first-generation ethereal physique. He was an existence comparable to the second sorcerer god. Even if he was slightly weaker, he and the other 2 terrifying existences of demonic god mountain could easily kill the second sorcerer god. This was also the reason why the second sorcerer god had been in seclusion all this time. Yushin seemed to know that the sorcerer tribe also had some terrifying existences hiding in some unknown places. Therefore, they had all sealed themselves and would not come out until the critical moment. If it were not for the birth of the Chaos Dragon Supreme Godhead, they would not have awakened at all. Therefore, Yushin still did not know that the ethereal body of this era had appeared. Go and find out which over-God's Godhead has appeared, and which organization it belongs to. If you find any traces of it, do not blaspheme it. Report back immediately, Yushin said in a low voice. Yes, my lord. This subordinate has another matter to report. Demon Tiger Venerable bowed and said. Speak. Yushin was a man of few words. This generation's ethereal physique has appeared, but she doesn't seem to have any intention of returning to the great demonic god's lineage, Venerable Devil Tiger respectfully replied. Yushin's old and gloomy eyes finally bloomed with divine light. He stood up and stared at demonic tiger deity, coldly saying, Why didn't you inform this king of such a big matter? My lord, before you went into seclusion, you said that unless an over-god spark appeared, no one was to disturb you. Therefore, Night Devil Tiger was so frightened that he fell to his knees, not daring to raise his head. Trash, you don't know how to be flexible. The ethereal physique is an existence comparable to a over-god. She is also my successor. How can this be considered a small matter? Yushin sternly reprimanded. Demon Tiger deity was so frightened that he trembled. This was the first time he had seen Yushin angry. This person from the Chaos Era was too terrifying. Where is she? Yushin hurriedly asked. At the foot of Divine Artifact Sect's mountain, in a territory called the Insane Sect. I don't understand. Divine Artifact Sect clearly knows that child has the ethereal physique, but they have no intention of killing her. Therefore, I didn't dare to make the decision to fight for her. If I angered Divine Artifact Sect, I wouldn't be able to atone for my sins even if I died 10,000 times, Demon Tiger deity respectfully said. Yushin frowned. She didn't expect things to develop to this point. Divine Artifact Sect was on the side of the Shaman tribe. Why didn't they kill the ethereal physique? Even if Divine Artifact Sect didn't do anything, those old monsters of the Shaman tribe should have ordered the ethereal physique's death. However, they actually pretended not to know anything. Luring the snake out of its hole. Yushin hoarsely muttered to herself. She suspected that the shaman tribe was scheming something. After 100 years of fighting, the inner sect had lost another 2 experts. Their numbers were reduced to 30 people. Although there were only 30 of them, they were comparable to a large sect. Even if 3 to 5 half-step over gods attacked together, it was impossible to break through their defenses. They might even die on the spot. Qin Wentian was no longer the child from back then. In 100 years, her appearance had changed a lot. She had become a slender and elegant young lady. Her beauty was peerless and her temperament was captivating. Her cultivation had also entered the realm of a middle god. However, no one in the inner sect dared to underestimate her. She had also inherited the ethereal physique's fate, memories, and secret techniques. The combat strength she displayed was unprecedented. Ordinary people couldn't compare to her. However, Jiu Shan was curious. Qin Wentian didn't choose to leave the insane sect and return to the demon god mountain as soon as the seed of fate erupted. Instead, she chose to stay in the insane sect. She was still as innocent and pure as before. She followed Yi Tian around all day and called him her husband. Yi Tian was very docile because of her. "I'm looking for uncle. I want uncle. I want aunt. Are you going to look for her or not?" Qin Wentian glared at Yi Tian. Even though Yi Qinghan had left her for 100 years and she was only a few years old at that time, she didn't forget Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Yi Tian was tortured to the point that he didn't have any temper. These days, the only one who could find Yi Qinghan was Emperor Yi. Even Medusa couldn't find him. "My good wife, my father will be back soon. He really didn't die. Look, my mother's life jade is still here. Moreover, my mother's cultivation has become very strong. Even her life jade is changing." Yi Tian smiled bitterly and took out Emperor Ye's life jade to prove it. "Then why did the people outside say that uncle left? Why didn't uncle come back to see me? Woo-woo. Why would I need a trash like you? Even my father can't find you." Qin Wentian sat on the ground and cried loudly. She didn't look like an ethereal physique at all. Yi Tian rolled his eyes and his fingers trembled. The great god Qintian was actually defeated by his little wife. The people of the inner sect also firmly believed that Yi Qinghan didn't die. If Yi Qinghan died, then Emperor Yi wouldn't live alone. They firmly believed in the love between the two. Therefore, when they saw the helpless expressions of Qin Wentian and great god Qintian, they secretly laughed. Zifei walked out of the crowd and helped Qin Wentian up. She ruthlessly kicked Yi Qintian and pretended to be angry. "Your wife is crying. Don't you know how to coax her? Senior sister, I really don't have a way to find father right now. It's also not good to go and find them with great fanfare. Once those people know that father isn't dead, they'll probably search the entire world for them. It's better to let them live a peaceful life." Yi Qintian helplessly explained, "You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."